About to get some ASMR. Me chewing on these nuts.
ASMR. ASMR. Hello. 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 I can hear. Oh, there I am.
How's that?
Let's get ready to suck it.
Doing what?
That.
What?
Bruno,
you look serious. It's a heart attack.
Yeah, Bruno's
What up, guys?
Christ or something like
Sorry.
intently focused.
I was wondering if he was froze for a second.
Yeah, you look really serious. Like you were just
how's my audio today?
You sound pretty good.
It sounds good. Some of it, I think, is just the connection, and then I think the way my mixer's set up, the way it feeds from the computer and back and forth, makes it a little more difficult to control because I have you up about as high as I can get you before you start to peak.
All right.
All right, should we do the ASMR one?
ASMR.
Jeez, it's the whole cast.
The internet is savagely roasting Jason Momoa's Dune character.
Why?
Because he's not a good actor.
Who cares?
Because his name is Duncan Idaho.
His name is Duncan Idaho, which is awesome.
In a future with the Ben Gesserit and the House Atreides. Allow me to introduce Duncan Idaho.
Didn't he write most of that? Wow. Ghostbusters Afterlife is a soulless ode to nepotism. Is it really?
Wow.
Oh, where
that's
where
harsh
was that?
criticism.
That was it, where that discount seniors only get
That's
if they
harsh
have
criticism.
AIDS.
I don't know if it looks that bad.
Well, I mean, is
I don't
anything?
know, I watched a review on it that was like someone watched a screener of it
Oh yeah,
and said they liked it.
I think I will enjoy it because I don't think there's any bad movies anymore, unless they're intentionally being bad. And
wait. What do you mean that you don't think there's any bad movies?
I'm going to have to disagree with
most
that.
Most of the stuff that gets released
Do
anymore.
you hard disagree?
Most of the stuff that
No.
gets released now follows a formula that at least you walk away. I mean, there's some of the stuff like you watch it a second time, you're like, how did I like this the first time? But for the most part, you walk out of a theater and you're like, okay, all right. Because it's just, yeah, that was a complete waste of my time. I was entertained because there's a formula that they can follow.
I think that might be more of your cold indifference than it is the quality of the movies. Because, man, I've seen some fucking... I watch
What do you think, Monkey?
garbage, and I've seen some movies that are just like, oof. They should have worked harder.
And maybe it's because I only watch like so much stuff now. There's a lot of stuff I'll just look at and I'll be like, that'll probably be okay, but I'm probably not going to watch it. But for the most part, I haven't walked away from something recently. I think the last Ghostbusters movie was the last time I walked out of something and I was like, that really wasn't worth watching.
Yeah, and I actually enjoyed the first Ghostbusters.
Suicide
the first time I
Squad
saw
came out after that.
or not the
didn't
first
it?
Ghost, the 16 version.
Girl Busters.
But
Like Alex and I walked out of that, and that was 6 years ago.
yeah,
It was 2016.
2016. So almost 5 years ago. Alex and I walked out of that, and he was like, that was okay, but it wasn't as good as the other two, which is saying a lot because the second one was meh. But I don't know. I didn't feel like it was a complete waste of my time even.
I fucking hated that movie.
It wasn't good. They were trying...
When everyone in your movie is supposed to be
Entirely
the
too
comic relief, guess what? Nobody is.
That's true.
Yeah. I really, really don't like that movie.
But I can't think of anything that I've
a-
walked out of and just been like, fuck.
2-hour wank fest of all of those people doing improv and Paul Feig insisting that they're funny when they're kind of funny at times, don't get me wrong, but ugh.
I guess I kind of felt that way at Bridesmaids too, though.
See, I think
just
that
like,
Bridesmaids is just
But I'm not the
Ghostbusters, but better. The jokes landed more frequently, and it was not shitting all over Ghostbusters. It was just, I don't know. Like,
because they were trying to stroke your nostalgia boner at the same time they were shitting
so
on it.
like the original
Don't
Ghostbusters
masturbate me
movie
with nostalgia shit.
is you have Dan Aykroyd, who's the hardcore, like, I'm nuts about ghosts and ghosts are real, blah, blah, blah.
He's a
and you
weird
have
fucking dude.
Egon, who's your science guy. Bill Murray is just basically a fucking con artist who hangs out with these guys.
Who somehow has two
like,
doctorates.
yeah, he's also a professor, but he's basically just a con artist. And then they just hire Ernie Hudson as like an everyman. And then in the female Ghostbusters one, it's like they're all super. It was
everybody
in the original
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, everybody had their little role of what they did, and in the female one, it was like they tried to make each one of them all of those things. It was like, well, yeah, she's funny, but she's also smart, but she's also really down to earth. And I fucking hate Leslie Jones, the black lady, the one that just all her shtick is screaming at stuff. I fucking hate her, and she's actually my favorite part of that movie because she's the only one that actually feels like
a character.
Like, she's the Ernie Hudson update, and she's actually funny when she's not just screaming, because a punchline is funny if I yell it. But I don't know. Like, anytime I think about that Ghostbusters movie, the only thing I go back to is Melissa McCarthy with is it the wonton soup?
Yeah.
That only has like one wonton in it, and she does like a fucking 3-minute long.
And she does a lot of time
it
being happy about
Oh man,
just chewing up the scenery over the fucking wonton.
It made me want to fucking
like, you're
die.
not Al Pacino, knock it out.
Oh, it was bad.
Stop. You're not going to get an Oscar on this one. This is not an Oscar movie. This is a Ghostbusters remake.
I'm going to step away for 2 minutes.
Just 2, though.
He's got to go vomit over thinking about Melissa McCarthy. It's okay. We understand. But no, that's probably the last one that I really regret.
Irritable bowel syndrome got you down? Well.
I thought you were reading.
You just see the back of his chair just spinning. No.
Try Imodium AD.
But, so how have you guys been the last couple of weeks?
Pretty good.
Let's stop talking about fucking Ghostbusters.
Not bad.
2006.
Not bad. Yeah, that movie fucking
just cut that.
We're giving it too much.
Yeah, we are.
That's 10 minutes. We can't get back.
Random news article. I have this fly.
Alyssa Milano.
Oh god.
I had it in my hand.
Marriage.
What about Alyssa Milano? Oh, I don't have any interest in anything about.
No, I don't give a
Milano.
shit about her and her marriage. I don't like any of these.
She just creeps up on Twitter every once in a while.
The only thing I see on here that I like is that the Braves are up on the Astros 3-0 in the first game of the World Series. Go Braves.
See. Movie starring Zooey Deschanel and Casey Affleck is filming in Spokane. Nah, don't care.
No, thanks.
You saw the thing. Did we talk about this 2 weeks ago, or did we talk about this where they showed porn on the news?
Yeah, I heard about it, but I didn't hear any kind of like follow up from it.
I haven't heard
any, maybe how it happened or who was to blame or anything like that. So
yeah, I didn't hear any backlash on it either.
No, I didn't either. You would think that that's something that people would be, shall we say, up in arms about.
No, and I think people can get over a little bit of porn.
Nobody watches the news anyway.
And does anybody really watch porn anymore?
Decided to join you guys today with a beer of my own.
Oh, nice.
Oh, what do you got?
I was last week or 2 weeks ago, I was up in Connecticut for a job, and there was a brewery next to where I was staying called City Steam. Yeah, City Steam Brewery.
Oh, nice.
Free plug. Friend of the
show. Bought 4 different beers to try out.
You got 4. Oh, nice. Are you going to start beers with Bruno?
No.
Has a really
You're like,
oaky
nah, that's
afterbirth.
gay.
We get a review on that first sip.
It's pretty good. I like it actually.
It's beer.
Probably better
an
than my
IPA.
Very Red Bull.
Well, look, I don't like all beer. I don't like Guinness. Ugh.
Yuck.
I don't like beers. I have to chew.
I don't
Same.
mind those.
If it feels like a
actually-
cube, nope.
It's not one I go seek out, but I tried. Well, I did a Guinness for one of the beer videos,
I don't like
Did ya?
broth beer.
and the first time I had it when I was like 20, and I didn't care for it then. And this time I had it and it's more of a it's kind of a coffee, flavor to it. I didn't mind it too much, but
Yeah, and I didn't drink coffee when I was 20. But I started drinking Guinness at 22, 23, and I liked it back then, and it's always been one of my go-tos.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I don't like a lot of I don't like Coors Light, and that seems to be one of the most popular beers in the whole fucking
Yeah, well, that's friends don't let friends drink Coors Light.
Right.
Yeah. You let
What's
all
that? Can I get you a
trash.
water, buddy?
Yeah.
Oh, it is about him being Duncan, Idaho. I was just joking.
Really?
why?
Readers of Dune, Frank Herbert's epic fantasy novel and Bible for 14-year-old Dennis Villeneuve. Nova? What is it? How do you say that? Villanova?
Villanova? Yeah.
Villanova.
I think it's Villeneuve.
Already know the nomenclature. In a world where Atreides fight Harkonnens? I don't know. I just read it when
I was going to say,
14
man,
too.
it's getting real deep in this next part.
Where Gom Jabbers test Moad Dibs and Stilgars and Chanis ride Shai Huluds. One warrior will emerge and his name shall be Duncan, Idaho.
Those were words.
Duncan, Idaho was no doubt a welcome relief for Western readers trying to keep track of a cavalcade of characters. Wow, they really
Man.
sucking in the words. Seeing such an Anglo-American name amidst titles inspired by non-romance languages helped Duncan stand out. I'm not going to lie, this fucking fly is going to get it. I'm not going to lie, I was into it. When put to screen, where human deity Jason Momoa stands out on his own.
Human deity.
I mean, I'm a big Jason Momoa fan, but human deity is stretching it. And spoken conversation, well, Duncan, Idaho lands a bit differently. The internet is a cruel place, and it has been pointed out more than once. Among sandworms and spaceships, the one feature of Dune which shatters a viewer's sense of verisimilitude is one
Jesus
name
Christ,
Man,
that
whoever
is like
wrote this
word
article.
brand of maple syrup or Midwestern town.
This is like when I try to
or a
sound
chain
smart
of
when I
strip
blog.
malls that let you make your own pretzel. A chain of strip mall stands that let you make your own pretzel.
Oh.
Wow.
What is even an acronym or a synonym
Yes.
for verisimilitude?
Verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude.
It's word soup, basically. I mean, it's like using a lot of different words
Oh, okay,
is what verisimilitude is.
that's what this article is doing.
Yeah. They're using their own
It's a
sense of verisimilitude.
Cavalcade of complicated words.
It is.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. That guy is swinging his word
Yeah, he is.
around. If we exercise the principle of charity for a second and try to defend Herbert's etymological decision,
Oh, fuck.
Etymological.
we might say that the name evokes just the kind of folk hero Americana optimism that Herbert is himself roasting, the romantic exceptionalism of a people who maintain they have befriended and made peace with the native inhabitants of a nation they are literally invading, instead of merely infiltrating them and slaughtering them. In that case, Duncan, Idaho is a kind of tragic ideal which never materializes and instead falls to the reality of planetary hegemony. Or it's just a dumb name. Anyway, here are the memes. These aren't memes, these are tweets. Dune. People use space drugs to travel through space and gain superpowers. Me. All right. Dune. Space drugs are only on a dirt planet with giant worms. Oh shit, the screen went out on me.
God damn it. This should come back. There we are.
Space drugs
Just
are only
start
on a
saying
dirt
big
planet with
words,
giant
man.
space- and also a new space messiah. Me. Pretty reasonable. Dune. There's a character named Duncan, Idaho. Me. Okay, hold on. Duncan, Idaho. Johnny, Utah. Nathan, Arizona. Hannah, Montana. We're not stopping until we've covered all 50. I like that one. That one's actually pretty good.
Johnny
Who's Nathan,
Utah.
Arizona?
Yeah.
I know the other three, but I don't know Nathan.
I was going to
Arizona.
say, I don't know who Nathan Arizona
Duncan,
is.
Idaho is the name. Is the
Hi.
same name as Hannah, Montana.
Jackie Daytona. Regular human bartender.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
What's that from?
What We Do in the Shadows.
Jackie Daytona. I like that. Paul, where the hell have you been, Ioka? Loka or Ioka?
I don't know.
I think. I don't know.
Duncan, Idaho, the moment Paul landed.
So
These aren't that good.
No,
they're not. And I made that comment as a joke.
but that's what they were.
But that's really what everybody's all up in our. These people realize this book's been out for. Didn't Dune come out in the 60s?
60s or 70s.
This book's been
I mean,
out for
it's
fucking 50
it's
odd
fucking
years,
older
and people
than
are
me.
just now realizing this. Oh, his name's Duncan. Yeah, no shit. His name's Duncan, Idaho.
Drunken Massachusetts. Duncan, Massachusetts.
Drunken Massachusetts would have been better.
It would have.
He's got he's got an alcohol problem.
Yeah.
This is yet another non-article that is just somebody who's like, yeah, boss, I'm going to do a piece on this. And their piece is just them posting screenshots of tweets.
Yeah.
It's not fucking journalism. Fuck this fucking fly.
I'm glad it moved from me to you.
Oh, I don't know what I hate more, this fucking article or this fucking fly.
There's a
Dude, flies are
and-
annoying as fuck.
I know.
Oh, I caught him.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh.
Out of the air.
Dead
too.
Okay.
fly.
Kung Fu master.
I hereby
You fucking Miyagi
exercise
that shit.
Dom Jabbar and am ending this fucking stupid article and moving on to the show
I'm
because this is
axe-kicking
not
this dumb
journalism.
shit. This dude fucking
Moving right along,
This
folks.
guy eats his own poops.
So
Eduardo almost got in another fight because apparently he has anger management issues. Let's hear about this.
okay. Well,
Every time Bruno comes on this show, Bruno schedules his
I was gonna
appearance.
fucking kill this prick.
so
Eduardo decides to get in another almost fight right before.
we went up
The way this
to Spokane this past weekend because the first day or Saturday we went to see Disney on Ice, which is just an excellent way for Disney to rape you.
It sounds
Fiscally.
Like, it sounds like the worst. way to spend your money.
I mean, it's the kid. My daughter enjoyed it a lot, and there's a lot of choreography and
It's Disney.
skating
They
and
spare
stuff,
no
and da 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 da.
expense. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
There's some scary shit that goes on because there's people coming down on ropes, and like, what happens if Aladdin loses his grip and like smashes down on the ice, or
I don't know. Ask Owen
dies.
or
Hart.
Eric drops Ariel on the ground when he's lifting her in the air and smashes her skull into
Fucking
the ice.
physics teaches us.
It's
Yeah.
going to give these
That
kids some
Aladdin died.
PTSD when they watch their favorite princess get brained.
You know,
At
blood
the ice
bounces
capades.
on ice.
So we went and did that, and then the following day we had some time in the morning before we went to see Cats, which if you haven't seen Cats the musical,
God, no wonder you were on
don't.
edge. You went to Disney on Ice and Cats in the same 24 hours span. I'd have
Yeah.
been fighting people too. It's like, you don't know what I've been through. Fuck it.
so we hadn't been to Cats yet, and I totally expected to fall asleep through Cats, but for whatever reason, I stuck through this one mostly out of just stick-to-itiveness because I just wanted to be I wanted to understand what was happening.
The
Why-
same thing
why-
that
But it
forced you to
ended
watch
without
the
me actually
revival
even-
of Punky Brewster.
How did this happen?
Why?
Trying to find the ideal
whole-
position for this microphone.
The whole premise was that these cats are getting old, but then there's this whole part at the beginning where they sing about jellicles and what are jellicle cats, and I don't know what the fuck that word got. It basically it's based on a series of T.S. Eliot poems that Andrew Lloyd Webber worked into his musical version of the Cats, and then he put these people in fur costumes. And they danced and sung and didn't really make any sense about what they were singing. It was It felt like I don't know, just
A
a
fever
weird
dream?
Yeah. And usually these, like, I'm after this cycle, because what happened is we went to New York back in 2018, and we went and saw Hamilton, and we saw Book of Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
Book of Mormon's hilarious. It doesn't really quite, like, if you're thinking like musical, I mean, it's a musical, of course, but I mean, it's also very funny and entertaining to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Hamilton was historical, so there was like that element to it, so it made it kind of like, I don't know, enjoyable.
Historical and hysterical.
Well, not especially when Burr shoots Hamilton.
Welcome
Lots of
back to
spoilers.
Ward Reviews Musical.
No. So no. Listen,
Fucking spoilers.
I'm going somewhere. You didn't know.
So, did you see Wicked, and what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I think our cycle, we've been doing like the best of Broadway things, where we've been buying like the 5 tickets every year and going and watching. Yeah, but I think that's come to an end after this time. Like, we stuck it out to go see Hamilton again, but I think we're done.
After you watch a professional actor lick their own
It's
asshole
brushed.
for
It's
15 minutes,
the thrill has worn
I
off.
think I'm done.
But so back to my fight story. Almost fight. It didn't happen. Like, it didn't happen. A lot of it was an internal.
Wait, I
struggle.
thought we were on Disney. Wait.
No, you pushed the fight, so we're on the fight.
Yeah, no, I know, but he was talking about. I'm confused. Continue.
I'm just running commentary, bro.
Anyway, so you're fight.
So before Cats, this is like a Quentin Tarantino movie.
After Disney, but before Cats.
Right. Yes. In between, we got up that morning from our hotel, and we decided to hit a couple like stores over by our hotel, and Home Goods was one of them. Well, we're out in what part of Spokane? Not the main part of Spokane.
The dodgy part.
No.
All of it.
What Spokane? It's like a little subsection of Spokane Valley. We're in Spokane Valley.
Okay.
Oh, over towards Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
Oh, the less dodgy.
That's where we like to stay, and because we can go to the mall and you get a hotel, and we usually get one at the a nice one. I can't remember the name of it now, but we stayed at a different one this time, and so it was fine, but it wasn't as nice. But so we got up, we went to Home Goods, and we pulled in the parking lot, and Nicole's driving, and she gets out of the car, and this guy starts yelling at us. You cut me off. Like, you guys cut me off over there. And he starts doing this thing. And first we didn't know he was talking to us. And Nicole's like, who's he talking to? I go, I don't know. And I go, who are you talking to? He's like, I'm talking to you guys. You cut me off over there coming in the parking lot. And then he's saying stuff. I can't really make sense of what he's saying, because he's like 100 feet away. Mm-hmm. So, and then he starts doing this thing where he's talking, but then he also taps on his head, which suggests to me that he's doing a whole, like, now he's scolding us and giving us a lecture about, you got to use your head when you drive, you dumb fuck. And that was like how I took it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, all right, buddy, have a good one. And then we went in the store. Yeah. Yep.
You give him the 2-finger salute. Thanks, buddy.
He was probably telling you you're crazy. That's usually what I think.
Well, I think it was like, basically, he's like, you got to use your head.
Women drivers.
Yeah.
Why do you let the vagina have the wheel?
I'll yell at you, you bitch.
It was a mistaken identity thing, or he thought something happened that didn't, because I don't know what happened. We were like, I usually am aware of my wife doing something. Like, we're usually pretty cognizant of what's going on around us when the other one's driving, and I didn't see anything happen, and she didn't either. But I'm not saying he's crazy, but I'm also saying,
but he's also yelling at someone
across the parking lot
when and
traffic. The part that bothered me is I had my kids with me.
Yeah,
and I've got a guy yelling at me, and so then I let it. So we go into Home Goods, and we're walking around, and I'm kind of like, fuck that guy, and I'm like, fuck that guy, what a piece of shit. And Wyatt's like, careful, Dad, you don't want to like have like, you don't want there to be like a unhinged moment with that guy. And he's referring to the Russell Crowe movie Unhinged. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I'm not worried about that because my hinges are much looser. And then I fumed around the store for about another 10 minutes, just kind of seeing red the whole time we're in there. Like
fucking yelling at me
like,
from his fucking car.
One thing I
cut
like,
that fucking bitch's fucking face off.
One thing I like doing when I go through Home Goods is looking at some of the cool home goods. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't I couldn't bring myself to like even distract myself with any of that. So then we go out to the car, and he was going into the Sportsman, which sells bullets. And he came out at the same time. And so I felt the need to be like,
oh boy,
hey buddy, have a good day.
Oh,
and
Lord.
He said nothing and walked on his way and ignored me. He ignored me. He started it.
He started it by not saying anything back.
So I bothered my wife.
I was just trying to keep the banter going. That punk bitch.
I was just trying to be that guy.
Yeah, I was definitely that guy. So it bothered Nicole a little bit, and rightly so, because I'm doing it also in front of the kids. It bothered me that he said something in front of the kids, but now here I am in front of the kids setting a example.
How much time would you say passed between the initial altercation and when you later were like, yeah, fuck you, buddy?
Like, have a nice day.
I would say
like half hour, 40 minutes?
10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not...
Maybe not even.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, you need a good half hour to calm down most of the time.
I mean, I carried it into Barnes and Noble next. the anger. Well, because
took it out on the poor lady ringing up your books. Yeah, this is a great book. Yeah, I'm sure it fucking is.
Would have been better if I hadn't been paper cutting my nutsack the whole time I was walking around the store trying to keep my anger up. Fucking trying to Hulk out over here.
So
I've noticed as I start to get older, my threshold for that kind of stuff seems to be getting.
Well, I was going to say,
I'm getting a shorter.
This is like the polar opposite of the golf course fight, wherein it was like, man, you kind of maybe underreacted, and I'm surprised you didn't fucking rock that guy's world. Whereas this one, it's like, dude, maybe you should have let that go really fucking quick because it wasn't a big deal.
And that was, I think, my wife's position on it. She was like, let it go. Like, I can. Like, he didn't bother me because basically his attack was like more directed at her because she was the one driving.
Shit about me in front of my kids.
Well, and I usually
cut his fucking dick off
on the opposite side of every argument from the female position, just because, like, on principle. But this time I'm totally on your wife's side. Like, maybe you should have just let that one go.
Yeah, I know I definitely should have. But it's great show content, right?
That was
awesome. No, people wonder why I don't like leaving the house, but that's why. Like, people always want to say something, and I'm mouthy as fuck. So I always want to say something back.
Yeah,
so I only go like 4 or 5 places, and people generally know me where I go.
Well, it's
and
like
so I end up not having problems because people are like, yeah, that's just Hudds. Just leave him alone.
It's like the time I told you guys how that lady told me I cut the lady at Winco.
Like no, you and that's when you pull a Crocodile Dundee and you're like, no, that's a cut.
Right. But yeah, no, I fear that I'm only going to get worse.
Probably
a little bit.
You know, it just oddly, because that was Winco. I have never gone to Winco and not been offered to go ahead in line. Because I've always got like 3 items and they're all the same thing. And people have always got just a basket full of shit.
Why don't you go ahead?
Like, why don't you just go ahead? You're only going to take a half a second. And I'm like, okay.
I'm not gonna be like, oh no. I don't mind waiting behind you and your 45,000 items.
45 different items in your back pocket full of coupons.
I don't have anywhere to be.
Yeah.
Coupon lady.
So yeah, that was my weekend.
Yeah.
And then, and I was looking forward to getting back to hockey, and apparently Halloween has to fall on Sunday.
Pressure medication in your future.
But yeah, that's why I don't go places. And like, don't you go to stores or things? I was like, no, most things I want I can find on Amazon, and they come in the mail within a week. And
I don't have to interact with people.
Yeah, I don't have to come across that possible interaction with people that I don't want to interact with. And people are just awful now. They'll fight you if you don't have a mask on. They'll fight you if you have a mask on. Like there's always somebody that wants to bitch about something, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, it's a fight from either. Like,
Yeah, I hate my whole species, and so I just choose not to interact with them. There's like 12 of you that I can deal with.
So if it was an alien, you'd interact with them.
Probably much better than I do. Most people of my own kind.
Yeah, I had some bitch cut in front of me at the when I went in to get my last round of shots in my neck. You stand in the spot where the sign says, "Please wait here for the next, available person," or whatever.
And she just
just walks right past me, stands like a good 6 or 8 feet in front of me, and I go, "Ma'am, I'm in line here," and she goes, "Well, why aren't you at the front of the line?"
Yeah.
Well, because you just put me behind you.
Well,
you dumb.
I don't carry a fucking croquet mallet everywhere.
Read the sign, you dinky bitch.
Nobody have knees left.
See, but you did you actually say, "Ma'am, I was in line"?
Yeah, I did.
Well, good for you, because I would have just sat there and like
stewed.
No, literally
that.
as soon as she walked in front of me, like she hadn't even stopped to enter, and I was like, "Ma'am, what you doing?"
because I typically won't start the confrontation. I don't seek out the confrontation.
Oh fuck!
If you establish early on that you're not going to put up with that shit,
Yep.
most people just cower.
Yep, establish dominance fast
It's
and hard.
weird. It's really weird
in public situations like that. Yeah,
if you're like, "Hey, lady, huh? What are you doing?"
Do it
Line
fast and
starts
firm,
here.
and they'll be like, "Oh,
What do you mean?
okay, I'm sorry."
Why are you way back there? Because that's where the sign says the line starts. So why don't you fucking come back here and sniff?
Oh
my
no,
farts for a
yeah,
while?
no, I've been in that position too.
Oh yeah,
But I don't. I typically will sit and just swallow shit like that, just because I don't want to. Because I've dealt
that's
with.
why you
I've
always
dealt
get
with
in fights when people
Talk,
start shit with you.
talk about it while you
But
walk
I've
through
dealt
Bed
with-
Bath
I've
and
dealt
Beyond,
with
and then
bitches
blow up
before,
on
too,
the
like,
next person when they walk out.
I have memories of like being in college age in my apartment and going, and there's like a girl sitting on my counter, and I'm wanting to go to my cupboard to get a glass.
God,
and
your apartment
I'm
was
like-
full of shit like that.
And I'm like, "Excuse me, can I
Didn't
get
you
a
live
glass?"
with Beef and the boys?
Yeah,
yeah.
for a little while until I got tired of all the pubes on the toilet seat.
What a dirty motherfucker.
But it was a short residency. But I went to get a glass out of the cupboard, and I don't even remember what she said to me, but she was just real fucking snippy and bitchy. I was like, "Get the fuck out of my way. This is my place."
Yeah, I live here. Move. You don't pay rent, and you're not sucking my dick. So get out of here. Take a goddamn walk. There's 15 other tramps trying to get space on the counter. You're replaceable. Wander away.
Well, and I think that's one of my general misgivings about especially young, like college age girls think that their pussy has value.
Yeah. Like, no, sweetheart.
And
more than half the people on the planet have those.
Yeah, more than half.
Yeah. More than half.
And more than 3/4 have them available.
Yeah.
So anyway, not to get off on that.
So I think the
tangent.
next. So let's see. It's the 26th. So that would make our next show. What, 5? It'll say random news article. Then it'll say personal Edwardo. Full-blown fist fight. And the next show, Ward will have like a shiner and a couple of his fingers taped up and be like, "Yeah, so about that."
So there was an actual fight this time.
No, I think I'm done for a while. I think I can cool down.
Well, it's the holidays coming up, so you won't be going as many places.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of settling into doing not much of anything for the next several months, other than like we'll go to some hockey games and stuff. But
oh yeah, so there will be a fight.
I was standing in line at the ATM.
It'll be
a guy just
in
stepped
the line to go to the
cut his
bathroom at the end of the game.
face.
I had a guy
You'll
that
end up
was
pissing on
posturing to me at the bathroom when we went to the Kraken game.
Really?
Yeah, he was like trying to edge me out of my spot in line. It's like, relax, dude. We all got.
Everybody's gonna hose. That's it. Everybody's gonna hose.
Oh man!
Everybody's gonna get a chance, and it's a trough. It's a trough because we're at a sporting event.
No, they
Just a
actually
big,
are all
long
urinals there.
Are they really?
At the arena? Yeah.
Oh yeah, they don't do the trough thing anymore.
And it's this big
People
circular
are too
deal.
insecure.
Yeah. Don't look at my weighing, man.
Well, nobody
wants to cross swords anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Cross
weird,
the streams.
closed off world
That's a
that we live in
Ghostbusters
now.
joke.
Why does your penis look like that?
I haven't seen a lot of dongs, but that's weird.
Holy shit! Do they all do that? I've only ever seen mine.
Oh no, I was in the army. I've seen.
That's a weird angle.
There's an awful lot of open showers in the army. You get real comfortable being naked.
You get real comfortable real quick.
That might have been my apprehension of going into the army. Now that I think about it, because
The barrage of dicks.
yeah, well, I in grade school and like all through high school, I was really like, nah, I'm not going to shower it with all the guys, because it was,
I lucked out. I had gym last period, so
I was like, I played football in high school.
I lucked out. I got a giant dick.
I lucked out. I've got a
My
huge
dick's
dick.
huge.
Nobody
so-
wanted to shower with me.
Anybody that walked into the shower, I immediately established dominance.
I dragged that slug behind me.
See this? This is mine.
This is my shower room.
Whip it out.
Ding, ding, dong.
Whip it out. What are we gonna do about this?
What's happening here?
The monkey's dick is almost as big as mine.
Apparently, gorillas have really small penises.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they growers, not showers?
No, they're
Really?
not even growers.
What do you do when you're both? When people look at it and they're like, "Man, nice dick," and then you're like, "Oh," and they're like, "Oh my god."
Chris, you'll appreciate this. My wife
That's
just
always scary.
sent me a text. I just got 7 elk salads worth of shredded lettuce on my 3 crisp tacos from Taco Time.
That's too much. It's too much for a taco and not
For a-
enough for a
Right.
plate of salad.
Still not enough for a regular
Still
salad.
not enough for a salad.
Oh.
Should we tackle this Alec Baldwin situation?
Yes.
It's I don't know.
Man,
seen
I don't
some-
have all that much to say about it other than it's really sad shit, and I can't believe how many people don't understand why there are live rounds on set.
There shouldn't be
Or
live
don't-
rounds on
or
set.
don't understand what live rounds on set are.
Yeah, that point, not the
But
Yeah.
and that's the thing
Now-
is like people are trying, like I've saw stuff where people were trying to blame Alec Baldwin for that. And it's like, dude, he's there to play make believe. He's not.
Well,
Right.
it depends. It depends what Alec Baldwin you're talking about. Are you talking about Alec Baldwin, the actor, or Alec Baldwin, the producer?
Well, there is
Well,
that
yeah.
argument, but
Well, and then
from
you
what
see
I
the
understand,
conspiracy
is that they were out using those same prop guns for Plinken earlier
people. Oh, were they?
in the day. That was the new development that came out this morning. They were out doing like target practice with them, and that's
That's just
allegedly how a
irresponsible.
round got in one of those
irresponsible if so.
guns. Not Alec Baldwin, but the crew, like
the prop people.
the prop guys, the prop gun people.
The armor.
Which, yeah, the armor.
Well, and then that's trying to shift the blame too. Like, was that really happening, or is that just something they're using to say, like, "Hey, this wasn't this famous guy's fault. This was the armorer was out shooting. Was he really? How do we even prove that at this point?"
Right.
Well, it's a
Well-
she. It was the armor is a 24-year-old woman.
Who came up in the
Oh,
business.
Well, that's a
So her-
producer mistake.
her
Then
father-
they hired a 24-year-old woman to run their weapons department. Like,
Well,
like oops.
to be fair, her father is a renowned armor in the industry who been involved for decades, and I guess she grew up around her father, learning about guns and the protocols. That's as far as I know into her background.
So
And
whether
this was the second movie where she was the lead armor.
Oh,
whether you as you alluded to
Whether you're
the
misogynist or
comment about Alec Baldwin the actor or Alec Baldwin the producer, It's not like Alec Baldwin loads the pistol and then brings it to the set, and like.
So the producer aspect, where he would be at fault with that is for hiring,
The
not the right person,
negligent
or
people.
right. And just because when it comes to film sets, ultimately the producer's the one at fault. It's like, saying the CEO of a company is ultimately responsible for anything that goes wrong. Plus there were some non-union crew, which, there's a big uprising about that, but I think it's that aspect is being blown out of proportion a little bit more than it should. Like, I know some very talented and professional non-union crew members. And I also know some union crew members who were a bunch of lazy, not great people. So I think it comes.
Sorry.
So I think
in my throat.
I think it comes down to really the people you hire, and vetting them properly. Now, what I do know is that the camera crew had quit the day before,
Yeah, I saw that.
citing issues with safety as well as so everyone in the camera department except for the DP, who unfortunately was killed in the situation, and the steady cam operator quit. And in their letter of resignation, they noted down one, safety. I guess there had already been some discharges of previous weapons or something like that. I don't know. There were some other safety issues. And they also put down that the lack of pay, I guess the production was behind on their pay by like a week or two or something like that. As well as their living quarters had been.
Yeah, they were.
It was not what they were promised.
They were like an hour away from where they were shooting. And so when they'd run the long days or whatever, at the end of the shooting schedule, they had to like drive back to the hotel, which I can get, but also at the same time, it's like, well,
it adds 2 hours to your day.
Yeah.
And if it's already, I mean, what you were talking in the chat about how sometimes it's 14, 16 hours they're shooting.
Oh yeah.
Well, fuck you adding 2 hours to my day.
Exactly.
I don't care. Add 2 hours to a 14 or 16-hour day. That you don't even have time to wash your balls most of the time if that's your case.
Pretty much. It gets pretty wild.
Well, but so then what degree, like to what degree is Alec Baldwin a producer outside of the monetary sense? Like, is he making calls on the production?
So
or is he just getting production credit because he's the star of the show?
I'm going to speculate a little bit here. Typically with, this may have, I don't know what the budget was on this production. I'm sure it was low millions. That's considered an independent film. That's considered low budget in the grand scheme of things. Like $2 million is considered nothing in the grand scheme of things.
It's not a Trace Adkins Western, but it's not a Tombstone.
So based on the low budget of the film and that it was an independent, Alec Baldwin being attached as a producer means that either it's his project and he's the one getting it off the ground, or he has some big involvement with it behind the scenes. Otherwise, he's not going to really care for it, and he's going to only be there for the paycheck primarily.
This isn't like Scarlett Johansson getting producer credit on Black Widow. This is he actually is involved. If he wasn't the one who's like, I want to get this movie made, he's got a buddy who's like, I want to get this movie made. Can you help me?
Yeah, essentially. When it comes to films like this, so he's got some kind of responsibility there because his name is attached in with the producers. And it may end up being some blowback because essentially, when you're the star actor and you're the producer, you're not going to really do the most of the producing role. you're going to have somebody else do that. But, you have to.
You still have to have some skin in the game when you're there.
Yeah.
Recognize that, this is a shit show. I need to fucking get this fixed.
Right. Yeah. You have to keep an eye on things, and you subject yourself to getting some blowback if the person who you've entrusted to run that producer role messes up in some way, shape, or form. So there is a chance that him as the producer may be screwed in some kind of way, shape, or form. I'm not saying he gets jail time, but maybe some serious fines and restitution or something like that. As
Do
the
we
actor,
know-
though, he's
You
perfectly
heard it here
clean.
first, folks. Alec Baldwin is
Yeah.
directly responsible for this woman's death.
Whoa.
Prosecuted to the highest extent.
That is not.
That is grossly irresponsible talk. And comments
The other thing,
do not reflect the opinions of the producers of the Time Spent Poorly show.
the other thing that's being brought up is how the AD apparently. So it's being said that the assistant director grabbed the weapon and handed it to Alec Baldwin, which is the biggest.
I heard that.
The biggest. No,
Red cold gun. Yeah.
There's only two people allowed to touch the weapons. Two people: the armorer and the team, the armorer team, or the prop master. Not even like anyone else in props. The prop master, meaning the top person in the prop department. No one else is allowed to touch the guns. No one else should even be allowed around the weapons. So the fact that the AD grabbed the weapon that's not a good look.
No.
That's
so
a big
the whole movie sounds like it was pretty fast and loose with a lot of stuff.
Well, it's independent movie. It happens. You're trying to move fast. There's a lot of things going on. There's not enough manpower. Not enough money, not enough time. So I get it, but when it comes to things that are this serious, you have to follow protocol. You have to really stick to it. So I think the AD, definitely is going to have some kind of fault there.
Yeah.
Even if they don't get the full blame, because it goes back to what you guys were talking about with the live round. There's very, very, very few reasons why you should ever have a live round on set. Almost no reasons.
Yeah.
So the fact that there was even a live round on set is, that's a very questionable decision there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of even one reason why there would be.
I mean,
period.
If you don't have the budget to do bullet holes on camera,
that's the one that I've heard the most consistently is that if you need to say you have a car that is going to end up shot up in a scene.
Yeah.
But I've seen various definitions of what.
Well, wouldn't that be a second unit
a
thing?
Live round as well. Like even a blank is considered a live round.
Well, yeah, they're primed. They still go off, but they don't have any charge or they don't have any.
Well, a blank
projectile
killed Brandon Lee.
That's what they say.
Right. That's and it's possible. I have heard of blanks killing killing
I've
and
seen
injuring.
blanks kill snakes. Like myself.
Because there's still some kind of stuff coming out of the gun.
Well, and I think it was like part of the casing came off the.
Well, with like we would when we did field training exercises in the military, we'd have blanks in our weapons, and if you take the blank fire adapter off, all of that gas and whatever that's coming out, if you get right up next to something, I mean, we had a rattlesnake right there. One of the drill sergeants took the BFA off and shot the rattlesnake, and it just the whole front end of it exploded. It was just snake guts everywhere.
Yeah.
Because
it's pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
The pressure just took it out. But the BFA dissipates the pressure out and it gives it enough so it recocks itself. There's a point to it. But
So I mean, look, there shouldn't have been a live round. I don't know, right? I don't think there should have been a live round. But then the other thing too is I don't think Alec Baldwin as the actor is going to have any issues here. But to bring up a point is no matter what, even if you know with 100% certainty that the gun is completely safe, you need to treat all weapons as if they're
Yep.
They're
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
so, you got to be
Firearms
very
101.
careful.
Trigger discipline and
Yeah.
gun safety.
Yep.
Like no one, they should have blocked out the scene and got the camera where it
Safety's
needed to
on,
be
yeah.
and been away from wherever he was pulling that trigger. That was everybody involved's fault. Now, how deep did you guys get into the weird side of shit? Like, I know I've seen some weird memes about how that girl's dad was an intelligence officer at the base that was the submarine base where the Red October was
Jesus.
stationed and yada
Oh,
yada.
man.
No,
My depth got 0 deep. I did not get
definitely.
And
I've had
other
some
people who are talking about how the Hollywood movie sets are regularly used as
ways to
ritualistic murder sites, and oh god,
'Cause-
the conspiracy people
Because
go
people
fucking
die on movie
nuts.
sets so often.
Yeah, I was
They
gonna
do.
say.
People die on movie sets all the time.
It's actually it happens more often than it should, honestly.
It does.
It
And
does,
it happens
but
in weird
not-
fucking ways.
not often enough to like
And
To
Get
use
your-
as a
to
means
use
to
a-
execute
yeah,
people.
like
yeah, no, definitely not.
but
Definitely not.
these people go into
those people
all
have
kinds of
concrete
shit,
finishing businesses and
and it's fantastic. But the apparently this woman who was killed, I can't remember her name,
Halyna.
Halyna. Her dad was an intelligence officer stationed at the submarine base that the Red October was stationed at in the book.
And Alec Baldwin is
And
in
Alec
Hunt for
Baldwin
Red
yeah.
was
October.
in the Hunt for Red October.
shit.
And
Sean
then he
Connery
ended up
was behind
killing
it
her.
all. Fuck me.
Some of the things that they tie together in these conspiracy boards are fantastic.
I'm going to make
It's
sure he
awesome.
shoots this bitch.
The only theory I had, and it's not founded by anything, was just basically like, what if somebody put a live round in there to call attention to the negligence on the set?
That was another one that I not that one in particular, but just somebody who had an anti-gun fetish had thrown something in there.
It's funny you bring that up because now there's like this whole call for no more blanks on set and no.
Oh yeah,
more
there's
this and that
there's
and
already
guns.
been
I'm like,
several
guys,
production companies that have come out.
relax.
They
Yeah,
won't.
like that's now. I think we're taking it too far. Like
Yeah, like
this
just
doesn't happen.
everybody go back to the standard.
This we just
Obviously,
have
they
to
weren't
make
performing to the
sure
standard
that's
because
what it is.
the
Right.
gun was not to standard.
Because the standards have been around for years.
And
To- with
how
little-
had
with
that
little-
failed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why did it fail this time? Because they weren't performing to standard. Obviously, somebody who wasn't supposed to be handling the gun handed it to him.
Yeah.
And maybe that wasn't even a prop gun that was supposed to be used. Maybe that was one of the ones that was being used to go out and shoot in the desert because fuck, shooting shit in the desert is fun. And they were doing that.
I'll tell you guys from experience. I just did when I was on Wu-Tang season 2 earlier this year. We had one of the sets I was on was the big shootout where they're in this church looking location and the two main guys just shoot out a bunch of dudes. So we had blanks on set, and let me tell you, it's loud. It's like a real gunshot, and we could hear it from outside of the location. And we had a special room for the armorer and his team. It was a team of 3 people. They brought in several weapons. I mean, the place looked like an arsenal. In the Matrix when Neo goes, "Give me guns, lots of guns."
Yeah.
That's what the place looked like. But I can tell you right now, there was no one else allowed in that room except for them. And I attempted to come in with a police officer, like an actual police officer from the town, from the city, because he had to inspect the weapons before we handed them to the actors. And they stopped us for a second, like, whoa, where are you going? And I had to explain, hey, this is our officer. He has to, inspect the weapons and make sure, see that they're safe and understand how they work. And then he broke it down. He explained to the officer what they were, what kind of rounds they were, showed him everything, showed him that the clip was empty, that the chamber was empty. And, we followed all the safety protocols. Whenever the actors had the guns, it was, here's the armorer would hand it to the actor. We would shoot the scene. And as soon as you cut, they take the weapons back. You don't rehearse with the loaded guns.
You don't get to be afterwards like, hey, let me spin it around on my finger.
You're like, yeah.
No, none of that.
I'm surprised they even bother using prop guns anymore with the level of CGI there is. I'm surprised they don't just use a green screen and green the weapons out.
There's nothing better than practical effects.
Yeah.
Oh, I
100% agree.
But
so,
with the way they do like whole people now and all the sci-fi guns, like shit.
No, look,
point, why not?
Visual, no visual effects, VFX is what they do on the computer afterwards. They're pretty damn good already. But practical effects, there's just nothing better. That's in front of the camera. You're not going to
hold up forever.
You're not going to have the same recoil. Like that's one of the big things is when you have the actual blank, you get the recoil of the gun.
Yeah.
And it's not as easy to imitate that,
Yeah.
It's little details. It may not
like, pew, pew, pew,
yeah.
pew, pew.
Right. It may not seem like a big deal, but these little things do matter even subconsciously to the viewer.
Yep.
Because you'll just know when you're watching it, like something you may not even know what it is, but that something feels off. You're like,
it's that uncanny valley shit.
Well, what was in Terminator 2? I think one of the things that James Cameron tried to do at one point to try to cut time on the movie was like take a frame out of every second of the film, and it made it weird.
I believe it. Go from 24 to 23 frames.
Yeah,
a frame is a big enough deal to make it look odd.
Oh yeah, because like in Fight Club when they're splicing a single frame of something,
you
in,
notice
you're
it.
like, oh god, there's a cock. But why is it?
You notice it.
Another cock. I'm surprised you haven't been splicing cocks into our show.
Now I will. Challenge accepted.
Oh no.
Watched it at speed and a half.
I wonder if I could get away with that on a YouTube clip.
Probably.
I bet you I would.
I don't think those people watch it close enough, especially if they're watching it at time and a half.
Well, people, but will the algorithm or the robot that's watching it catch the cock?
Catch this cock. Yeah.
Now it's time to play Catch the Cock.
Did you catch it?
It's like the human checks, where you have to click all the buses, click all the planes, click all the cocks.
Click every picture that has a cock in it.
Every frame that has a cock.
To prove that you're not a robot.
Is it hanging?
Man.
Find the penis.
Ding dong. Ding dong.
Well, so definitely Alec Baldwin's going to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, man.
I think it's pretty harsh that people are digging up that old tweet of his.
Oh, fuck that noise.
When that cop shot the guy by.
Yeah, that's
like, I wonder what it feels like to be responsible for accidentally killing someone. And then he does it 5 years later. Like, the dude's probably at the lowest point
they
he's
were
ever
playing
been
the long
at.
game.
Like,
on that
even
one.
worse than when he called his daughter a little piggy.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah, I bet he wishes that would happen again.
It's funny. I looked at my mom and I was like, hey, Alec Baldwin killed some lady. And she's like, shit, was he losing his temper in New York again? And I'm like, it's really sad that that's where your mind went first with Alec Baldwin. I was like, no, it was an accident on a movie set.
Well, and so, okay, I want to, before we move on, what is your take on the headlines reading Alec Baldwin killed versus accidental death or whatever?
I think it's irresponsible journalism. And I think that
100%.
Every
Yeah.
headline that I've seen in the last 3 years has been that, though. I don't think I've seen maybe even the last decade since the advent of the internet.
Since
I mean,
The
I know there's
first-
always been yellow journalism, but it's been awful since the internet.
clickbait's
like-
been around longer than the internet, but yeah.
But it's like unquestionably. I mean, there was one. The local radio station did one. They put something up on Facebook the other day. Shooting in Idaho mall. Da 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 da. And it's like, okay, there's only like 4 malls in Idaho, right? Like, of course it was in Boise, but at first
Right.
it's like where
They can't say shooting in Boise Mall. They have
right.
to
You
say
couldn't have
shooting in
narrowed it
Idaho
down to
Mall.
Boise in the headline, which would have saved us time because I wouldn't have clicked on it if it would, because like it could have been here, it could have been Moscow,
Yeah, buddy.
but like I had
Yeah,
to click
I mean,
on it to see.
Headlines, the headlines are a big deal, and I think people are starting to become a little more savvy to that. I mean, the very first headline I saw about this story had a photo of Alec Baldwin. This is before it was even confirmed that he shot the weapon. It was a photo of him and something alluding to the fact that he was on set and he was the one that pulled the trigger that killed the person.
Mhm.
And then you read the article and nowhere does it say it didn't even say he was on set that day.
It wasn't even a confirmed thing.
Right. Because
Yeah.
this was the very first article that I was sent. So this is the very beginning when
As
they
it was
only
starting to
know that
unfold,
someone
yeah.
was shot. And it's like, why would you do that? Why would you put this kind of headline alluding to Alec Baldwin killing someone? That's crazy. But it's, people, I guess they want to sell, they're just trying to
They
sell.
want that click.
They want,
And-
yeah.
And and the retraction doesn't matter because some people,
No.
that's the only thing they're gonna see is that first
Who
that
sees
first bit.
who sees retractions?
Yeah, they're putting it on
think I've
page
seen
6,
one retraction
lower right hand
in my
corner.
whole
Like
life.
nobody's
Yeah.
gonna see it. No, all that matters is what comes out first and what it
Yeah.
says and how dirty it is.
Yeah. Well, and fuck. Imagine how. I mean, he's got PTSD from this for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's not an easy thing to get over, I assume. Like you accidentally shot through a camera and through the assistant director on the movie or was it a director of photography?
DP.
director of photography, DP, and the director.
Oh,
So
yeah. Was he okay?
Did both.
Did he end up okay?
He-
I know he
yeah.
was in critical
Yeah,
care
he was
last
okay.
Yeah,
time.
the director, I think, is
He's
director's
actually made
out
comments
already.
since.
Okay.
Safe, yeah.
But, it's not something he's going to get over, especially with the way he's been anti-gun and
Yeah. No, he's gonna carry it.
I mean, he's one of the ones.
Honestly, anytime any kind of celebrity, especially actors, are over here fighting for environment or anti-gun or this and that, I totally ignore it because it's just such a marketing scheme. Such bullshit. 90% of them, if not more, they don't really give a fuck. That they're just trying to go with the waves.
Oh no, he's
like
a lizard, too.
whatever the current mood is, they're just gonna parrot those.
So he
same
might
words.
not have PTSD out of it. He might be fine.
Yeah,
he's
I think
been-
he'll be fine. I think he'll
Do
be
you
fine.
think do you think he finishes the movie? Do you think they finish that movie?
I don't think they'll finish that movie.
You don't think Rust is going to come out ever?
Not that variation of it. It's like what was the one where the gal got hit by the train?
I think it'll largely depend on
Midnight Rider, I think.
how the convictions end up coming out and what court decisions and all that. Because
Yeah.
if production loses a lot of money, then the investors are just going to cut their losses. They're just going to cut their losses, and that's that. If someone other than the producers or something like that get the blame, then they might come back in a year or so and finish it and kind of try to ride the coattails off of this marketing to sell it. Like, hey, this is the movie where the person got shot. Go watch it.
You know what?
Like what they did with Roar.
You know what you do?
I don't know that movie.
You throw
Oh,
a book together
it's,
real fast. You do some quick interviews. You do a dirty 250-page book and throw it out there, call it Rusty Trombone, and get it out there before there's even a verdict. And that's your quick meal. Quick meal. What do you think? Now, what's this Roar thing?
It came out in 1981. It's Tippi Hedren and her husband, John Marshall, the film director. They used a bunch of their money to start basically a wild animal preserve in Africa.
Oh, yes.
And they decided that they were going to film a movie at this wild animal preserve where they had all these big cats and crazy shit and whatnot.
Yep.
And 70 different people were injured during the making of the movie. Their daughter, Melanie Griffith, that's where she got her facial scar from, because she got punched in the fucking face by a real lion.
Jesus.
Like, yeah.
Their daughter, Melanie
and that's
Griffith,
and that's how they sell this movie. Like, if you can't see it very well because it's on my phone, but the poster of the movie is like one of the lions hanging on to a person, and it's like, roar, no animals were harmed in the making of this film. 70 cast and crew members were.
So
the most dangerous movie ever made.
Awesome.
I tried to watch it. It's not
It
good.
is not a very good movie.
Not at all.
And the attacks have this really boring realism. Like, when you watch something like The Ghost in the Darkness, you know, with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas, and you see lions attacking people, and it's like, oh man, that's fucking crazy, brutal. Oh my God. You know, when you see real lions attacking real people, it's really slow. It's really not cinematic. And
they kind of drag them around.
Yeah, they just kind of use their great big their hands that are the size of your back, and they just fucking boom, you're fucking dead. Boom, you're fucking. It's really, like I said, it's not cinematic. It's
It's not fun. It's not cool.
It's slow.
It's not sexy.
And plotting, and just like, oh, they're just kind of gnawing on that guy. Like, damn.
Nope.
So that movie Midnight Rider, you guys remember this? Bruno probably does.
To keep from
Midnight Rider.
Yeah. Okay. So on February 20th, 2014, the first day of filming, the crew was on an active railroad trestle bridge high over the in Wayne County, Georgia. Due to criminal negligence by the producers of the film, second assistant camerawoman Sarah Jones was killed when she was struck by a CSX freight train that arrived on the trestle.
Oh, fuck.
I'll bet that disintegrated her.
She got hit by a fucking train?
You remember that?
Yeah,
those old early internet sites where they were just like people just dying horribly.
Like Style Project?
Yeah, Style Project and Ogreish and stuff. And I remember seeing a dude get hit by a city bus, and like he just fell apart. Like his limbs dislocated at the joints, and he just fell apart, and it was awful.
Ugh.
And it's not what you imagine when you think, because like movies give you like a thought of what things are, and it's nothing like that. It was just awful to see. And
there's so much blood in the human body.
It's
really remarkable.
It's like when you see that
watching?
Bill Dwyer shoot himself in the head.
I don't think I saw that one.
Or Bud Dwyer.
Which one's that?
Oh, it's like the live suicide. He like kills himself live on camera as he was about to. Look it up on your own time. I'm not going to.
Come on, throw it up on YouTube. Let's get some monetization going.
It's disturbing because he does it, and then the film crew like comes in on him as he's slumped down on the thing, and there's just blood going.
I think I have seen that. Yeah, that's not.
He pulls a gun out of a manila envelope.
Oh shit!
So listen to the cast for this movie that ultimately didn't get made because the girl got obliterated on the train tracks. We got William Hurt playing Greg Allman of the Allman Brothers.
Oh, it was named after the song.
It was biographical pick. Zoe Douche. I don't know who that is,
Deutsch.
but Eliza.
Zoe Douche.
Pronounced Deutsch.
Eliza Dushku. Wyatt Russell played a young Dwayne Allman, or was to play a young Bradley Whitford. None of these other names I know, but Charles Dutton was in it. So it had a good like cast, but it got
Semi-star
canceled. Yeah.
Yeah.
It got derailed.
Fucking ouch, dude.
Oh,
Ouch town population.
that woman got hit by a train.
Yeah, so that's a very big, very popular and known story amongst the crew world, the entertainment business. And there's like memes, not the right word. It's like what's her name? Sarah, right? Sarah something, the girl's name.
Yeah, I think
there's like there's stickers. You see stickers and things like that say like "We are all Sarah," whatever.
Yeah, Jones,
Sarah Jones, and things like that as kind of trying to bring up her story and bring up awareness to the dangers of crew. I've heard plenty of stories, and I think it had something to do with like some equipment got left on the track, and she had to run back for the equipment. And as she was getting the equipment, she gets hit.
Yeah.
Well, I know from little videos that I've seen, and then from instances like Paul W.S. Anderson had one, I think it was on Monster Hunter, the most recent one that he did where somebody got hurt. But Michael Bay is really notorious for kind of happily putting especially his camera crew in harm's way in effort to get really, really unique shots. He'll put the camera and the crew frighteningly close to where these car accidents are going to happen and be like, okay, so right as this goes to here, you guys need to start running backwards and
make sure you pan right.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm all for getting really cool shots, and I love me some good cinematography. Don't get me wrong. But like, if the only way you can get the shot of the car crash is by having the person running backwards from the car crash while it's happening, maybe come up with a different way to do it.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's 100 ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Have some other way where the person doesn't have to be there.
Yeah,
and there's a good 90 of them that don't involve animal cruelty. So maybe pick those.
You have to fucking have your person standing at the point of impact to get a good shot.
Oh, you know how many you watch Westerns? Boy, they are fucking mean to horses in the 60s.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And 50s and 60s. Man, the things they put those fucking horses through, they couldn't do that today.
Oh, no.
They couldn't even kind of do some of that stuff.
When PETA wasn't a thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Back before PETA was involved.
But man, some of it looks
you could
really
make movies like Roar.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's crazy though is in Roar, I feel like PETA would be like, how could you do that to the animal when in fact the people are the ones in danger?
Yeah.
Well, do you remember a couple years ago when they made the Dog's Purpose movie? Well, and then they added did the special effects after the fact and made it look like the dog was in this serious danger, and fucking people had a shit hemorrhage.
Mm-hmm.
But the dog was basically swimming in a pool.
In a little, and it was just dropped into the shot.
Yeah.
The thing about Roar that was so fascinating was, like you can use animals like that in movies. They were untrained. Like they literally just used the lions that they had at their animal reserve of just like, fuck it. Who needs trained lions? We've got lions. They'll work, right?
We got some lions. I got a lion over here. Let's use this one.
It's crazy. I mean, when we have animals on set, it's a whole ordeal. Like you have to bring in the animal handler and everything. We had, I think it was raccoons on set for A Quiet Place.
Oh yeah.
And it was pretty funny. It's like they show up in this minivan with the fucking raccoons in the back of the minivan in like 3 or 4 cages. And I swear the handlers look like some hillbillies.
The handlers are actually just 3 raccoons in a trench coat.
They probably
they're only like the raccoons branches removed from that Tiger King guy.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was watching something the other day where it was like a 2020 from the 90s, and it had to do with another tiger guy that owned tigers, and they did a close up on the guy, and it wasn't the Tiger King, but he had the same like blonde hair and heavy thick eyebrows.
Dude,
I'm like, what is this a thing with guys that own tigers?
Every couple of weeks, he'd dump a
They
bottle of
all
peroxide on his head.
They all
Yeah.
have a look.
Yeah, it was weird.
Have you heard about the one in southern Idaho, the Liger Town incident?
No.
Oh, these people, they're the reason that there's laws against having wild animals as pets in Idaho.
Oh wow.
And the guy that taught my crime scene investigation class at the police academy was the detective on site, the first detective on site. They had to bring the SWAT team down to hunt these wild cats that got loose when this old couple they had like 20 lions and 20 tigers, and the enclosure that they had them in had broken down, and some of them had crossbred, and this was the first time they'd ever had ligers, which is like when you cross a lion and a tiger.
Right. Yeah. So that would have predated then Napoleon Dynamite. So when was this?
Late 80s, early 90s.
That's crazy. Now that's like the same as a golden doodle. Ligers.
Yeah. But they don't. They're like mules. They can't breed.
Right. They
after
can't breed with one another.
But
and they're fucking homely looking.
and they're huge and gorgeous. They're just these big, like golden tiger looking things, and they're like 13 feet tall. And
I wonder what makes that happen.
I don't know, but they were cool
because they're bigger than a tiger. I feel like they're bigger than a tiger or a lion.
Yeah, and there's some cool pictures of one named Hercules, and he's just gigantic. Like he'd stand up and he could pull all the shit off that shelf up there, and they don't live very long. But yeah, the guy said he got out of his car and he could feel something was wrong, and I guess the woods were just full of lions and tigers and ligers and tigons. And because if the mother's a lion and the father's a tiger, it comes out one thing, and if it's the other way, it comes out the other.
I got to just say this now: the episode title is "Lions and Tigers and Ligers and Tigons,"
and they look different. It's weird if the mother is one thing and the father is the other, and ipso facto switcheroo. And he got back in his car and he called. He said something horrible is happening down here, and he told the story really well. It was fantastic, and he was just this really mild mannered dude for somebody who'd been a cop for 17 years. But he looked like he'd attacked an entire Dunkin' Donuts at some point, but he's there with his 9mm, and he'd only been on the job for like 2 or 3 months at the time. It was a great story because it was like a surfer talking about the water feeling sharky.
Yeah.
He's just like, I could feel that there were predators around me. And the world was I was in danger.
He's like the guy in Jurassic Park where he's like, clever girl.
Like when the local guy, he's run for sheriff a couple times. I won't say his name, but there used to be out in Peck, there was this goat that would attack police cars.
Yeah.
And every time he'd go out to Peck, like he'd have to call in help for this goat that would assault his car. Just hilarious.
This sounds like a trained goat.
It must have been. It had to be. This goat would go after this dude every time he would go out there. Peck has like 13 or 14 people. It's just a tiny little town.
Yeah.
But he'd go out there, and because it's right on the edge of the county, and so there's a deputy
talking about these little towns. I read an article once about some town, I forget where, and the population is one person, and this lady is the mayor, the treasurer, the post office. She's like all the positions.
Voted for herself, that selfish bitch.
That's what it is. She voted for herself, and every year or every X amount of years, she just has to go down to the nearest city, right, where the county office is, and just like sign some papers to say she runs the town. She makes her own laws. That's fucking
That's
awesome.
Duh.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Is she the law around here?
Oh, yeah. And that's how I would introduce myself. I'd be like, I'm the law. Hello.
I'll run
How are
these
you?
parts.
She also has like a restaurant inn, and she runs the restaurant in her town.
I wonder if she bitches about taxes
my
too.
God.
She's
Right.
like, fucking mayor.
Yeah.
She gets in
Bitches
arguments
about
with the mayors.
The
She has all these
road
meetings.
maintenance. Yeah.
One of the mayors says mayor over it. The other one says treasurer. The other one says
Yeah.
comptroller. Like, it's just like,
It is.
fucking sit down. You're out of order. No,
It
you're
is-
out of order.
it is-
No, you're out of order.
Manoai, Nebraska.
Sounds about right.
It is the only incorporated government-run town in the United States to have a one-person population. That person is 87-year-old Elsie Eiler.
Oh, what the
Yeah,
fuck
I'm
happens
pretty
when
sure
Elsie
that's
dies?
it. I'm pretty sure that's
Does
it.
Elsie have the town willed to anybody?
No, she's got it set to a
No,
dead man switch.
we
It
need
firebombs the town. When
She
we
looks
need
like
to-
a bitch.
We need to get
and
Elsie.
she probably is. That's why there's only one fucking
Like,
person.
we
Like,
need
oh,
to-
Elsie got herself fucking hopped up on power. She snorts fucking meth and yells at herself in mirrors all day.
We
I
need
wanna-
to get down there and endear ourselves to Elsie, and maybe we can make that population 10.
Right?
Just needs to take his monster dong down there.
I want to start.
Hey, Elsie, want a shower?
I want to
Take
start
your-
my own
Yeah,
town.
we got business, Elsie.
Start my own town. Just make my own rules.
I'm gonna raise your population by 300% this year, bitch.
You know, just under $5 million. There's two different properties right on the south end of a lake, just outside of town. Fantastic location to start a new town. I've been looking at it. I just don't have that much money.
Huh.
It looks like the type of place that
It's
a group
still-
of like-minded individuals could put together a compound.
As of 2020, so she has been the only resident in this town since her husband died in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
She has run the
Your husband didn't die,
Mono-Eye
Lee.
Tavern for 50 years.
Mono eye,
That's what it is.
Mono-Eye.
A tavern.
the one eye,
She's
the
run
one eye
yeah.
tavern, the old Cyclops.
Huh.
Well, at 87,
Also-
I mean, if she's
Also, a moniker
So you
for
know
the
what we
dead.
should
My
do
grandma
is
still
we should
hops
travel
around
to
pretty good for 87.
Nebraska and we should kill this old bitch.
Whoa! Slow
We'll
down
be like,
on the murder.
I killed an entire town's worth of people.
Have you guys
Jesus,
ever dreamed
A
of just
firecracker would draw.
owning your own island and making your own country with your
Yes.
own rules and laws?
My whole
How
life.
fantastic. That would be incredible.
Like, as far back as I can remember, this has been a thought of mine.
this is
Same.
actually going to play
Yeah.
into our next topic a little bit
Oh.
Which
to
is
some degree. Well, the
I'm going to lean up against the monkey for this because I
The-
don't know what the next topic is.
getting it. Well, no, it's the strike and
Oh,
Mm.
getting away from work or
Yeah.
as much
just,
work.
Just the anti-work movement in
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
anti-work movement.
Yeah.
It's upon us. Do you think it will last, or do you think we're going to grab back onto it?
I
I'm-
mean, go ahead.
I would like to think that my kids will come to a point where they understand that your job is not your life, and you should do something that you can tolerate and enjoy, but also you should have interests outside of it so that you're not taken advantage of by your employer.
I think that everybody has that like epiphany at some point in their life. It just depends on when. Like we determined like in our late 30s that like, okay, work isn't everything. We need to start having some experiences, especially with our kids. But you know, like Bruno, for example, I know you've done like some cross country trips and you've like had fun, done some fun
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Got to go to that
Which
spy
probably
house.
stems, but you also work your ass off, it seems like to me as well. So
Yeah, I'm typically an all-in type of guy. Whenever I'm
you don't
doing
hate your
something,
job either,
No.
right?
For the most part, no. I mean,
It-
you know, there's
nice.
always
It depends on
depends
yours.
on the
Probably
day.
just depends on the work.
there's probably
Right?
days.
No,
You have your
definitely.
days, I'm sure, like anybody does.
Yeah, 100%. You definitely have your days. I've had days where I wake up and I'm like, oh, really? Do I have to go to work today? And then I just have to remind me, like, okay, I made this choice. I'm here because I want to be. Nobody forced me to get into film, and I can leave anytime I want. So if I'm here, it's because I want to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, going back to what Hud said, I think you're right. It's like, everybody has, some people want their traditional 9 to 5 and then go home and not have to worry about work. And some people actually enjoy their work and make their work their life.
And that's
And
okay. As
that's
long as it's something you
either
want
way.
to do.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
there's a lot
Either
of
way, it's
people who
okay.
are like, they're shackled to something they hate, and they're guilted into doing more and more
No,
and
see,
more for nothing
I
more. And
I really feel like that's a personal problem.
That's
Like,
that's
if
on them.
you're
That's
not,
their personal issue. Yeah.
I
I
mean, look, if you're
agree.
not happy at your job, change.
Find a
Go
different
to a
one.
different job. Go to
Yeah.
a different job. If you need to be retrain yourself. Go back to school. Do whatever you got to do to change your situation.
But there's a
I think-
mindset of people about my age and about 20 years older where they just worship the grind. And they're like, oh, I can't wait to rise and get to work and fucking go chase that paper. And it's like your whole life is based around getting more money and more money and more.
Some
And
people
like,
are into that.
Why?
Look,
like, what is the end goal there? Like,
it's
do
a
all that
game.
and then you die. And they're like, but that's how my parents were. And you look back and I know there's a lot of it that's fictionalized and whatnot, but I spend a lot of time with really old people right now, and you listen to them talk about their jobs, and it wasn't like that. Like, they'd get up and they'd saunter into work around 9 maybe, and then they'd go spend like 3 hours at lunch, and they'd get fucking wasted, and then they'd hang out in the afternoon, but half the time they'd be napping or talking, and they'd get like a half an hour of real work done in any real day.
That
And
sounds
there's
like
other people-
Yeah.
that sounds like the European workday.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there a period of time in like the 50s and 60s where people actually vacationed during the summer?
Yeah.
Like, they stopped working.
People would disappear for the entire month of August.
Yeah.
Or
The
like
factory
the last
would
2
shut
weeks of
down.
July and the
Or,
first 2 weeks of August. And it wasn't just, we have to continually produce
Go out to
all
the
time.
Catskills. Yeah.
And whereas and I think it was a big idea in the late 70s to the early 90s that you had to produce. And, people are shitting on fast food restaurant workers, but like, those people work their whole fucking shift. You used to work at a fast food joint. I know you worked at Burger King, and like, if there were no customers, like, there was time to slack off. But you always ended up with that douchebag, like, mid-20s manager who was like, you got time to lean, you got time to clean. If you're wasting time on the clock, like,
Yeah.
dude, fuck you. I'm making like $5.15 an hour. This is like, you got time to lean, you got time to clean. I got time to fucking
fuck you with this broomstick.
I could fucking sodomize you with this broomstick like we're in fucking prison, bro. Like, leave me alone. I don't take 15 cigarette breaks an hour. Like, you can calm down on me polishing the sterling silver all the time.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is smokers are usually the ones that will throw that argument at you at the time to lean.
But you've
time to
got
clean
time
argument,
to
but they need
half hour.
that cigarette break. They need to get out there for that.
No, I've got my union break. Like, fuck you. You're not in a union. You work at a fucking Quickie Mart. Calm down. Suck on your cigarette, you fucking fart knocker.
Well, so what's it mean though? If we go to like, okay, so 4-day work week.
I think there's just never going to be an end. That's the thing. It's like,
right.
We come from a world where people worked 7 days a week. There was no days off. Then it became 6 days because, one day was the holy day. Then it went down to a 5-day work week with 40 hours because anything else was inhumane. And now people became comfortable to that, and they're advocating for 4.
Hold on, time out.
Oh.
Oh my God, yes.
So some of them are like
Food.
meh, because I got impatient and just started throwing them all in the deep fryer.
Thank you.
Darker ones.
Homemade,
you. Very
homemade
nice.
jalapeno poppers.
Tight.
Yeah, I don't know whose bright idea it was to make jalapeno poppers, but they're not as easy as they seem.
They're not
They
as
smell.
easy.
They
It's
smell
like,
amazing.
Show over, and they're here finally. So, have
Sweet.
fun, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks.
dear.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too. See you after work.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, I think it just becomes the norm and people get used to it, and then they want the next thing. And 4-day work weeks is the next thing. And then in 50 to 100 years, 4-day work weeks will become the norm and people will want 3-day work weeks, and so on and so forth. I think it's a vicious circle, never ending.
Mm.
So, there's a fine line, in my opinion, there.
Well, do we get to 4-day work weeks though, or do we continue the grind? Because there's too many. I think there's too many working class people that believe in tradition and want to keep the things just the way they are.
And I think you're going to have a little bit of both. I think you're going to have some companies that offer the 4-day work week. You're going to have some companies that are like, no, this is our culture is you come here to work and you grind it and you make money, and
Right.
I think you're going to have a wide variety and something to suit everybody. The person who wants to chase the money is going to have the ability to chase the money in that 5-day work week or
Right.
even an 80-hour work week job. And the person who wants to just live life is going to have the opportunity to work for a company that does 4-day work weeks, 30 to 35 hours a week, have 2-3-day weekends to relax and do what they want, have unlimited time off. And I think you're just going to have a variety, just like you're starting to have with the whole work from home. There's a lot of companies.
Yeah.
A lot of companies are like, no, there's work from home is a temporary thing due to the pandemic, and we're going to be back in the office. And then you have companies that are like, you know what, this is the best thing ever. If you guys want to work from home, let's do it. Let's go full work from home.
I think that's a good
mix.
point.
So I think it'll really just depend on the culture of the company and the CEO or the founder of the company and whatever they want to institute.
I personally think that if we cut back on a lot of stuff, it makes it easier in a way because you plan your life around the availability of things. If Applebee's is going to be open 4 days a week instead of 7 days a week during their hours, then you're going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to go to Applebee's on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And, or, whatever. I'm not just, Applebee's is just the place.
Right. It's the example.
But I mean, and so then it becomes, I feel like then it becomes more of a treat because you're going and using something that maybe don't always have access to, or be at the grocery store. I'm going to need milk, but I have to do it on Wednesday. So you plan your life around that, which is also, there's some inconvenience to that, but at the same time, then you're building your life around the expectation that this is how it's going to be. And if I don't adapt to that, then
there's going to be times I have to go without.
It's like the stores
that milk my own fucking cow.
The stores that changed their hours during the heavy parts of the pandemic, like Walmart going not open 24 hours, and Albertsons closing early, and stuff like that. You just kind of have to adapt to it. That
was one of the things that I enjoyed about the early parts of the pandemic, is because one of the examples that was noticed was the environmental impacts from the reduction of people on the roads and all that stuff. If we cut that shit way down, and I'm not like I'm a guzzler of everything, so I don't,
including cock.
Yeah. I set myself up for that.
You did.
But low hanging fruit right there.
I have to swing for it when it comes. Ding.
But
Babe Ruth.
I feel like this could only be a helpful thing if we cut back.
Absolutely.
And reduce.
So here's the problem I see with that, right? And you actually bring up a good point, and I think that could work with certain industries, like the restaurant industry.
Yeah, I don't think it works across the board.
I don't think so. This specifically with grocery stores, I don't think it works with grocery stores where they're only open for X amount of days, because what's going to
I
happen
can't get
is,
milk today.
yeah, it's
Right.
like, groceries are kind of like toilet paper. It's like,
Yep.
oh shoot, I need this. I need it now. I don't need it
Mhm.
tomorrow. I don't need it yesterday. I forgot about it. I need it now.
Right.
And
And we're in a very entitled culture right
that's the
now.
other
And maybe
thing
that
of
changes
immediacy.
I had enough milk to cook my meal, but I fucking spilled it when I pulled it out of the fridge,
Or-
and now I don't have
or
milk
that.
anymore. So I need,
And if
So you're fucked, and you got to
know,
make something else.
right.
and if company X is like,
Fuck
oh, we're
you.
only going to be open 5 days a week, and company Y is like, okay, we're going to be open 7, then company X is going to lose out, because
Yeah.
company Y is going to be open those other 2 days, and they're going to get those people who are like, oh crap, I forgot, or oh, I just spilled my milk, or whatever the case.
So
may
that's
be.
a way to reset the equation, though. That's basically a way to start anew, essentially, because that's how we got to where we are today.
What
Is
do you mean?
everybody's building towards that
24 hours.
that 24-hour service thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I like
they are,
I don't know
and
if it'll ever
and
happen.
No, I don't think
Is
it
that
will.
a-
I think we're not positioned for it yet.
is it a bad thing though? I don't know. I mean, look, I
I don't
I grew up.
personally feel like it is. I think it'd be wonderful.
I
Oh,
grew
yeah.
up I grew up around the New York City area where there's plenty of things open 24/7.
Right.
Any time of day you can get almost anything. And I remember when I was working in upstate New York, only an hour and a half away from New York City, which is not that far. Only an hour and a half. It's like 60, 70 miles away from New York City. And I remember leaving the office at like 9:30 p.m. And I'm like, okay, I'm hungry. Let me go find a place to eat. And there's nothing open.
Nothing.
Everything is closed except for one diner. And that's literally where everyone was at that time, because there was nowhere else to go. So
Yeah.
you either went to the diner or you starved and didn't eat anything that night. And
Or you cooked at home.
Or you made ramen.
right.
I mean,
Yeah, but for me, in my example, where I was staying in a hotel room, I don't have the option to cook my own food or make ramen, because I don't even have a microwave in that room. So it was a little annoying to always have to go to that fucking diner.
Oh yeah, but on the other hand, you became a regular there, and you met people, and you had friends that showed up at that diner at that same time, maybe. Or maybe you were all angry from getting off work and you drank your coffee and had your eggs and fucking gave disgruntled grunts to each other and wandered out. I don't know.
It's funny that it was still a well enough populated area that it wasn't, you didn't make friends that easily. Like it was still enough people at the diner that you kind of just stuck with your own circles. So like I would go with my coworkers, we would leave the office at 9-10 p.m. and go to the diner to eat something before we head back to our hotel rooms to sleep, to wake up and do the same thing over again. It goes back to what we were saying earlier about the, 13, 14, 15-hour days on when you're working in film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just going through that cycle.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like the idea of it, and it's probably for me, because I crave the idea of being more removed or not entirely off the grid, because I rely too much on, we could go to 4-day work weeks as long as Amazon stays operating for 7 days a week, 24/7, and they still got to piss in bottles. Then I'm good. As long as Bezos keeps making slaves out of his employees, and I'm happy, I'm good to go.
You don't have to. I mean, you could do 4-day work weeks and have a company open 24/7. You
just employ more people,
shifts.
right?
Yeah, you just employ more people, and it's different shifts. The problem with that also becomes, someone who's used to getting paid 40 hours a week is only going to get paid 30 hours a week now. So
Right.
their
So they got to
paychecks are
make
gonna
that
be
dollar
lower.
stretch. Right. Because
Right.
they're not going to get paid more per hour.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. So, there's that balance also.
Well, and there's a lot to be said about learning how to make your dollar extend and not buying so many fucking frivolous things.
That's
Like-
a very good point.
Like I went through moving out of my house, and just the amount of shit that just ended up in the trash was
Yeah.
phenomenal. Like, why did I have all this stuff? Why does anybody have
'Cause it's
most
just-
of this
it's just
stuff?
stuff,
Like,
yeah.
And part of it's
We're-
because I had the space to put it. Like, I was like, yeah, I've got space for that. I can keep that. I can hold on
We're
to
a
that.
we're a consumer country, you know.
And,
Yep.
and
There's a
just
lot of
shifting
keeping
that
up with the
mindset a
Joneses.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is-
No, that's huge. Shifting that mindset is huge. Try to live as minimalist as possible. Like,
It's-
do you need all these little knickknacks and gadgets and
And
all
then,
that bullshit?
and then to actually cut it from your life
Mhm.
feels like an impossible.
It's
thing.
why I think it's so important for everyone to, at least in some point in their life, be extraordinarily poor. Because when you have to learn, like, okay, it's Monday, I have $4, I get paid on Friday. When you have to live like that for any amount of time, you get a very, very quick understanding of what you actually need to buy.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
but that may become a little more dangerous, because if you do come upon money, then you're like, hey, look at all this money, let me go spend it now.
Right.
You have
You
to
do have to have some
maintain
kind of
that.
control. Yeah.
You have to
you do
maintain that mentality.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why freedom is the worst. Freedom is a terrible responsibility, and people don't understand that. It's
Mhm.
scary.
Well, because you got payday loan places popping up. I mean,
Oh,
I
God,
ran
crazy.
myself into the
Fuck.
ground when I
Speaking
was
of
20
Lions
with the
and
payday
tigers and
payday
bears and
loans.
predators.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that stuff, a lot of those programs are, now you have a lot of these new companies that are doing the buy now, pay in installments on the internet. I forget the name of the companies. There's like 2 or 3 very popular ones. That stuff is dangerous, man. That stuff can be really dangerous. Like, I will take advantage.
For the low price of $14.95 a month at 31.95% APR. Like,
$15
I mean,
a month
here's
forever.
Here's the thing. Some of them don't even charge interest, right? They make money if you become late on your payment. So some don't even charge interest. But the thing is, unless you're responsible with this stuff, like, you'll start spending money you don't even have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
well,
like,
and
I'll take
they'll
advantage of some of these.
They'll get you with the zero interest thing, but like you said, they don't charge you interest until you're late, and then anything after that first late payment's 25%.
Then it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Like, I take advantage of this stuff all the time, especially credit cards, no interest credit cards, things like that. I definitely take advantage of it, but I never make a purchase unless I have the money to back it in my bank account. So, like,
Oh yeah.
for example, I just bought a new camera. I bought the Sony A7C, which is literally what I'm using as my webcam right now.
I was gonna say the video quality on your
crazy
end
good.
is
Mm.
splendid.
Thank you.
It's really
Thank you.
good. Yeah.
Thank you. So
Our-
we had no idea how beautiful
Our
you were
call-in guest has better video quality. Main host.
So I just bought this.
Be sure to smash that
And
like and subscribe button, gang.
And it's not a cheap purchase, It was like a $2,000 camera.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I have the money for it, but I don't want to, from 1 second to the other, have $2,000 less in my bank account. So I said, okay, let me sign up for a credit card with no interest payments, right? Not only do I have no interest payments for 18 months, but if I spend this particular card I got, if I spend $750 in the first 3 months, I get $200 back. So essentially, I got a discount on my camera.
Nice.
Right?
Nice.
So I put the purchase on the card. I have 18 months to pay it off, but I have the money sitting in the bank account to back it. So, like, if something weird happens, like I lose my job tomorrow, or I don't know, some kind of crazy shit happens, I can pay off that credit card. I have the money there.
Mhm.
The problem is a lot of people don't do that. They'll just like, oh, swipe. I just have to pay tomorrow. so I only have to worry about it tomorrow. And then they lose their job, or they get a flat tire in their car. Then now they have, emergency expenses come up, and that's what happens. And then credit cards fucking love when that happens, because
Mhm.
they will give you the no Vaseline treatment, 22%, 18%, 25%. It's ridiculous, the interest rates these credit cards charge.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never carry balances unless it's the no interest periods. Anytime, as soon as the no interest period is up, I'll either pay any remaining balance in full, or if it's like my regular daily use credit card, whatever I spend during the month, at the end of the month, boom, pay it in full. Never carry a balance.
No,
It can
that's
get dangerous.
the way to do it.
I have a friend of mine, he racked up a decent amount of consumer debt. And thankfully he was able to catch himself, put himself on the right track, and now he's good. He was able to pay it all off. But I've heard plenty of horror stories of other people who are not able to dig themselves out of it.
Well, and then there's the people that can't. A lot of times will do they'll do the thing where they file bankruptcy, and I've never been the type of person that wants to. I don't know what it is. I mean, I guess we could, if we are ever in a position, we could file bankruptcy, but that feels shady to me. I want to pay for I want to pay for whatever I've committed to.
Right. I've made that mistake. I
right.
should probably.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, there are some serious repercussions if you file for bankruptcy.
Oh yeah,
it's 7 years.
It damages your credit for years.
Well, and it's a lot different now than it was.
You can't do anything.
10, 15 years ago, they changed a lot of the bankruptcy laws.
Yeah. I wouldn't file
what you
for
can
bankruptcy.
do.
Yeah, bankruptcy is like, if you've got if you're making $40,000 a year and you've got $250,000 plus in debt, then I would probably consider bankruptcy.
Right.
But if you have something that's somewhat manageable, like $40,000 a year, if you're making $40,000 a year and you've got $80,000 in debt, that's manageable in my opinion. But you have to be willing to make some sacrifices for sure.
Oh yeah.
No, but I mean, we kind of digress there because we were talking about the whole work, the 4-day work week, and I think Ward wanted to get into the IATSE contract a little bit.
Well, I part of the conversation with the 4-day work week and changes in the evolving working landscape had to do with that exact thing of the days of people working those 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week, that it's not even necessarily a blue collar attitude. I don't know that you'd call it that, but that work yourself to the bone attitude, it is going away to an extent.
Oh,
I mean, across the board.
I think it's you're getting a very split group. There's no more in between. There's either people who are full steam ahead, give me all the hours you want to give me, and then you have the people who are like, I'm not doing more than X amount of hours. I don't care.
Yeah. And I think that the pandemic and people being able to do their jobs differently, not just office jobs that are able to be done from home, but other things. People are realizing that you don't necessarily have to show up to work to punch a clock every day now.
Right. Well, no, I'll tell you, if I looked for another job, I would look for a job that kept me at home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, I love working from home. I can't, for as many complaints as I have about my job, one of the biggest benefits to my job is the fact that I don't have to spend 2 hours 3 hours. You know, if I lived in Los Angeles, you imagine the commute that you have to make
Yep.
Oh, dude.
for some
Not
jobs.
just LA and any big
Oh,
cities.
right. Yeah. No, fucking New York.
My
I mean,
commute, my commute into the city is an hour and a half on
Jesus.
average
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
each way.
Honolulu
Each
was
way.
awful.
All right. Do you eat on the
Awful.
way, or what's your whole what is your routine, Bruno? For the
My routine is if I leave my house after 5:45 in the morning, it's going to be an hour and a half commute into the city. And I put podcasts on. So I just catch up on podcasts, listen to you guys, listen to my other podcasts, and get into work wherever I'm going. And then when I come back, it's another hour and well, it depends. If I'm coming back late at night after being on set, typically it's only about like 45 minutes to an hour. If I'm coming back from the office where I'm leaving at like 5 p.m. rush hour, it's another hour and a half. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I'll just do podcasts. That's typically what I do.
Well, at
Interview
least there's
myself,
something to your time's not a total loss. I mean,
No,
and I say that
100%.
because I spend an ungodly amount of time watching television on my downtime. So there's nothing to say I can't watch television because everything's mobile now. You can take it with you.
Yeah.
So I can watch the shows that I would watch in front of my from my couch, from my phone or whatever, or if I'm listening to podcasts, listen to podcasts. When we make drives up to like Spokane and stuff, we're always listening to some murder show. So
I've put on some soccer matches on my phone while commuting.
Oh, I bet. Before we get out of here, strike.
So with that and their demands for changes in their workplace environment and the evolving workplace environment, what effect, if any, do you see it having on, because they were talking about if the strike went through, that production on everything would grind to a halt for, essentially indefinitely, but they were saying that even if it stopped at all, it would have a 3 to 6 month delay effect on anything that was in production. If they start forcing these people to work a more manageable work schedule, is that going to cause a decrease in the amount of content that's produced because they're not working these people to the bone?
No, I don't think there'd be a huge decrease. I mean, if a strike had occurred, it wouldn't have stopped all productions. They weren't, I believe, HBO and 2 or 3 other studios were exempt from the strike just because they were meeting. They had agreed to the new terms, or they were meeting the new terms. So it was mainly for the streamers. It was mainly for the Netflixes, Apples, Amazons, things like that they were going for the strike. So
HBO is going to be a Goliath in the next few years.
Yeah.
The demands were, they want to do what we call French hours, right? In Europe, crews don't shoot past 10 hours. They do 10-hour days. That's it. At the 10-hour mark, crew will literally drop their gear and walk off set if they have to. And
sounds like a
here,
Bruce Willis Lionsgate contract.
Yeah.
and over here, that's not the case. Over here, our days are based off 12 hours. And many times we go into overtime and do 13, 14, 15 hours, whatever we need to do to get to finish the day. So that was one of the points, was they wanted 10-hour days. The other point, they wanted to eliminate what we call Fraturdays, which is starting your day at like 4 p.m. Friday and ending it at like 5 a.m. Saturday, which essentially ruins your weekend. Because by the time you get home on Saturday,
because then you're going on Monday again.
Yeah,
exactly. Because your Friday is shot. You're gonna get to bed by like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Wake up at like 3, 4 p.m. Your Saturday shot, and then you have Sunday, and then Monday you're back at it at like 5, 6 a.m. That was one of the things. And then they were also trying to increase pay. Now, what I'm a little confused on is I'm not sure if they wanted to increase pay across the board or if they wanted to increase pay for the new media contract. So the unions have different tiers, and depending on the production level, you are forced into a specific tier. So the new media tier was created for, with the advent of internet, YouTube, and all of that. So these smaller producers could bring in the union and afford union rates at like $1 million or $2 million budget. And since it was new media and the production was going to live on the internet, they didn't take it as serious, in the beginning. Now living on the internet is a big deal because you have Netflix, Amazon. So a lot of these big guys who do have the money, they are essentially abusing the new media contract, and essentially they're able to pay crew members lower rates because they're doing new media contracts instead of, if you're a big studio film, if you're Universal or Paramount and you're going to do a movie, you won't qualify for new media. You're going to have to do the regular full contract, and you're going to pay the highest rates, period, across the board.
So they just found a way to exploit it, basically.
Yeah, essentially. So, I don't know if they were
right.
I don't know if they were asking for more pay just in that new media section or if across the board. If they're asking for it in the new media, I kind of agree with them because you do have these Netflixes and Amazons who are taking advantage of that. If they were asking for more pay across the board, I don't know if I really agree with them because, all these crew members do get paid very handsomely. No one's getting rich, unless you're the producer or the actor. No one is getting rich by a stretch of the imagination, but many crew members do live very comfortably, right? And what needs to be taken into account is not just their pay rate. Like some of these crew members make anywhere from $35 to $80 an hour. And you're not just making your hourly rate. You're making your fringe benefits for your health insurance, pension, et cetera, et cetera. You're getting fed all day long. So that's an expense right there. And there's always some other expenses that the production accrues.
So what is the difference between crew worker and what you do, Bruno?
Well, I'm crew essentially. I am crew.
Okay.
But so my department only became unionized about 2-3 years, 2017 or 18. So what is that, like 3 years ago?
4 years ago, yeah, 3-4.
Yeah, 3-4 years ago. And we're besides production assistants who are not union, we're the lowest paid department. We do not get $35 an hour. That would be nice. And I mean, I'm crew. I'm just like them,
Do you put in the 14, 15-hour days typically?
I do. I typically do more than they do. If I'm on set, my department is the first one in and the last one out.
Wow.
Just because, so we're in charge of the location that we're filming at, which means we have to be there to open up. So we're there before anyone else is there to open up. We have to sign the whole area so that crew members know where to go. So if you ever see colored signs with, saying set or bathrooms or holding catering, that's my department puts those up all around. So, everyone knows where to go. And then at the end of the day, once everyone is gone, we're in charge of wrangling the trash. Now, let me also, a little side note here. This is how things are done in the New York City area. If you go to Los Angeles,
these roles change. Yeah.
The roles change a little bit. But in the New York City area, my department at the end of the day is in charge of cleaning up the set, and the holding catering area, as well as making sure that the trash gets picked up by our trash company. So we technically have to wait for everyone to leave so that we can pull the trash.
janitor work.
Yeah, so that you
Yeah.
can do it.
Exactly. So we're the first ones in, last ones out. And now it's starting to change a little bit since we've unionized. They started to stagger us, bring someone in the morning shift and then have someone in the late shift. But before that, there was no staggering. You would come in at 5 a.m. and you would leave at like 9-10 p.m.
Dang.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
And you'd make that 45-minute commute home. Just
Well,
turn
it
around.
would be. Being
If
that
you-
it was so early and so late, it's like 45-minute commutes
right.
because there
Dang.
was no traffic.
Did you ever
Sleep
just
for
think
it.
of just staying there?
Sleep for an hour and
I've heard many stories of people that just stayed and slept in their car or their vehicle, whatever, overnight.
Prop beds.
I've heard people
Sidney Prescott's bedroom.
asking for hotel rooms for the night, and then depending on the production, some will give you the hotel room, some will be like, no, go home.
Do
so
you
it really
get paid
depends.
to travel from to and fro, or is that on you?
No, okay. So here's how it works in my situation. In my department, production gives us vehicles just because the nature of our work, we need cars to get around. So I may start my day at location A, and then I have to go to location B, then I have to go to the office, then I have to come back to location A. So they'll supply me with a vehicle, or they'll reimburse me for the use of my own vehicle and then give me tolls, gas, etc. So in that sense, they pay for my commute, but other crew members don't get paid for their commute unless you're traveling what's called out of the zone, meaning you're a certain amount of miles away from New York City, in which case then you do get travel pay. But I mean,
all incredibly interesting.
There's little intricacies.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But so going back to the IATSE contract, those were some of the things they were asking for, right? Is the 10-hour days, higher pay, and then no fratter days. What do I think is realistic? I think the 10-hour days is realistic. And I think it's pretty fair. They do it, like I said, they do it in Europe and it's manageable. I think it can be done here. In the very early days of coming back from the pandemic, most crews, if not all, were doing 10-hour days and the work was getting done.
Well, will that lead to tighter shooting schedules to make more use out of the 10 hours? Will they try to squeeze more out of that 10 hours, or will it just increase the production time?
No, it'll probably,
instead of being a 4-week production, it's a 6-week production now.
I wouldn't say from 4 to 6 weeks, but maybe from 4 to 4.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
How much of that is just them yanking off directors and letting them do their own thing? Because, you hear about some of these guys and they're like, oh, we're going to do 400 takes and then probably just use the first one. Like,
no,
at some point
does happen. That does happen.
Sometimes it's like, how long are you going to entertain this guy's artistic fucking whatever masturbation? And at what point are you going to be like, okay, this director's just completely out of control and we're just not going to work with this motherfucker anymore? Because I don't know. I've only got so much patience for artists.
What do you do with someone like Scorsese, who wants to do 20 takes?
Yeah, at some point you just tell him to go fuck himself. I don't care how magical I don't know. I don't think I've seen anything that he's done that's been such a great
Scorsese needs to release his films in take versions.
Yeah. Like how many
that's a little tougher.
Did this take, buddy? I don't know.
Tougher.
Like, I've only got so much respect for people when you hear like how much torture they've put the cast and crew through. Yeah. Like you hear stories about Hitchcock and you're like, yeah, his movies are pretty good, but what a piece of shit. Like he'd handcuff people together.
Also.
Yeah, Kubrick was
what he did to Shelley Duvall and
Kubrick is known for like, I've heard, this may be exaggerating, but I've heard like 60 takes.
Yeah. And he tortured that bitch on The Shining. Like he fucking tortured her. And
that may have been deliberate though. That may have been deliberate in order to bring out a certain character
It
from
was.
That was
that's
the
exactly
idea.
that was the
But-
point. Was
But I don't know. Like maybe tell her what you're looking for, and if she can't deliver, find somebody
I'm
else.
trying to make you fucking crazy.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to break. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to break you.
We're not really
pretend that's
getting
real.
the level of crazy out of your performance that we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to psychologically terrorize you to get a really authentically fucking frightened performance out of you.
I don't know. There just seems to be so much forgiveness of actors and directors, and I know some of it's apocryphal and some of it's exaggerated, but like I don't know.
Well,
man.
and a lot of it
Like,
is-
there's a lot of stuff that's there's stories that come out of that whole industry, and it's like, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, but he's an artist. Fuck him. There's people that can do just as good a job without torturing the people around them. Like, look at Anthony Hopkins. You listen to him talk about acting, and it's like, oh, that's great. He must be wonderful to work with. He goes and he reads the whole script, and then he reads it again, and he tries to find the voice, and then he goes and he memorizes his lines, and he fucking does his scenes. And then you listen to like Daniel Day-Lewis, and it's like the dude goes out and builds a fucking log cabin, and he doesn't shower for 6 months. Fuck that guy. I don't want to work with that asshole. I don't care how good his performance as Lincoln was. Fuck him.
No,
Oh,
some people don't care though. Some people want to work with the best, no matter what happens.
Let those guys go make
Yeah.
movies.
Yep.
I'll fucking go have fun with
And
Tony Hopkins.
normally the amount of days you have is tied to the budget. You know, it's like based on your budget, you're gonna, you have like, for example, 30 days to shoot whatever you got to shoot. So you have to, for example, let's say there's a movie that only has 30 scenes. I'm giving up an example, right? And you have a $30 million budget, right? Which constitutes more or less, like I'm making up some numbers here. Let's say a $30 million budget means you can shoot for 30 days. Essentially, you can shoot one scene a day because it's 30 scenes, 30 days, one scene per day.
Yeah.
But if you only have 1 million, you can only shoot for 10 days. So you have to do 30 scenes in 10 days, you know, which is, what is that? 3 scenes per day. I don't know. 3 scenes per day in my case. So you kind of have to tailor to whatever your budget is and how many shooting days you have. And then based on that, you have to squeeze things in. If you only have to shoot 1 scene per day,
which is
you can fucking do take after take after take after take.
End up with those lovely moments in movies where it's like that's the take they went with, huh?
Yeah.
you didn't want to try that again?
You want to try another one?
When you have to do, like 7 scenes in one day, you don't have time for that. You do not have time to do take after take after take. You got like 4, maybe 5 takes, and you got to move the fuck on. That's it. Move on. Because each scene has at least 3 setups, minimum 3 setups, right? You've got your master shot, which is the camera nice and wide, shows everything with everyone. And then you have a close-up. So if you have a 2-actor setup, you have the master that shows both actors talking to each other and a little bit of their surroundings. Then you have to do the second setup, which is close-up on actor A, which, you only see actor A over the shoulder of actor B. And then you have the third setup, which is a close-up on actor B over the shoulder of actor A. And then that's like the simplest of scenes where it's only 2 actors.
Just reverse shot there.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like if there's some kind of special action going on, that's another shot. If there's more than one actor, that's more than, multiple shots, because now you have to do coverage. So,
cutaways and shit. Yeah.
One scene is at minimum 3 shots, 3 setups. It could be as many as like 10 setups. So it really depends. It really depends. So 10-hour days, I think it's possible. It'll definitely increase production by a few more days. And you'll have to squeeze, you'll have to move a little bit faster for sure. But I think crew would be a little more rested just because you know, you have a little more time to relax. You don't have to rush home.
So
go straight to bed.
potentially improve efficiency.
Yeah, you
on
will
set
approve
as
So you
well.
wouldn't have situations like Alec Baldwin murdering that woman in cold blood.
Listen, possible.
Exactly as it was in the headline.
It's very possible, you know, like because it's not just improving efficiency, you're improving morale. Because
Well,
Right.
I've
and
seen crew members on set and off set, and some of them it's like they're bipolar. Like I learned very quickly that the way people act, their personalities on set are not their real personalities. These
Yeah.
are people who are under stress, under duress, they're tired, they're fucking, sometimes they're over the project they're working on already because you're in like day 35, you know, X amount of hours in, so much bullshit has happened already. You're like, I just want to be fucking done with this thing.
Oh yeah.
well, yeah, and then you end up with, like I said, and I'm again, it's hypothetical here, but then you end up with instances like the Alec Baldwin thing. Maybe
Yeah.
something like that happened where the AD was like, you know what, we could sit and wait for the armorer to fucking get here 3 hours from now,
Yeah.
or I could just
Yeah.
get the gun to Alec and we could shoot this fucking thing and be fucking done. And people cut corners,
which
That's-
is very plausible.
that's how
That
accidents
may have
happen.
happened. That may
You
have
know?
happened. You know, if it's a indie budget where they only were able to afford the one armor and they can't bring in a second armor or a third armor, and there's just not enough time for the armor to deal with everything that has to be dealt with, I can
and you
see
get
that
somebody
happening.
who says, oh well, you know, fuck it, I'll just do it.
Yep.
What's the worst that could happen?
When you get
And that
somebody with
prick-
a title
and
like
that-
director,
And that prick Alec Baldwin's on set going, "Let's go, let's get this."
Come on, you piggy.
can we shoot this fucking thing already?
The show on the road.
Thank you.
She's a person,
That
not a
was
thing.
thank you.
No, definitely.
He treats objects like women, man.
Thank you.
But I see. I wanna transition into what the IATSE contract was led into, right? So what they've been given by the studios. So they've been given 10-hour turnarounds, right? A turnaround means that from the time you leave set, you can't come back to set until that X amount of time has passed. So if you leave set at midnight, you can't be back on set until 10 a.m. if you have a 10-hour turnaround.
They have the DOT has rules like that for truck drivers, where
Correct.
it's like, oh, once you shut your engine off, you can't turn it back on for X many hours, kind of thing.
That seems like it would save some lives.
Well, and that's the big thing. There have been countless accidents of crew members coming home super exhausted at the end of the night and just get into accidents. So that's one of the biggest things. So, you know, they're being given 10-hour turnarounds, which from my impression, that's all that they already had 10-hour turnarounds. So I'm not sure what's happening there. But I know that SAG actors have a 12-hour turnaround. So if they leave at midnight, they can't be back on set until noon the next day. And I think crew wants the same thing. I think crew's asking for the 12-hour turnarounds also.
That seems fair.
But right now they've been given the 10. The other thing that they were given in these fights is I believe it's 54-hour turnaround on a weekend, which means that Fraturdays are going to be a lot more difficult to do, because if you wrap at 6 a.m. on Saturday,
You have to have 6 hours lead in on either end of Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you have to have like a full 54 hours until you can be back on Monday. So it makes things a little more difficult. Now, I like there's a little balance there, because I think Fraturdays are kind of needed just because of the fact of the nature of the business. You know, we have overnights, you know, we have scenes that need to be done overnight, and you got to shoot overnight. That there's no way around it.
Yeah.
You know, you can't shoot, even
From
though
a
you can.
logic standpoint, it seems like a Monday night or a Tuesday night would be a better night for that because there's going to be less people on the street.
Well, the problem with that is then that screws up the whole rest of the week, because if you're doing a Tuesday night, then you can't come in Wednesday morning. You
Yep.
know, so typically what happens is you start Monday at 6 a.m. and then because of the turnarounds, by the time you get to Friday, your call time is like at best 10 a.m. at
Mm.
best. You know, sometimes it's noon. And if your call time's at noon, you're expecting to wrap no earlier than midnight on Friday. Well, technically it'd be Saturday already. Just because everything gets staggered. So like you'll start 6 a.m. on Monday and you wrap at 6 p.m., let's call it, right? You can't be back in on Tuesday. I mean, technically, I guess you could be back in at 6 a.m., right? Because you'd have 12 hours turnaround. But the reality is if you started at 6 a.m. and you wrap, right, meaning like we're done shooting at 6 p.m., you have another hour after that because you have to clean up. You have to put your equipment back in the trucks. By the time you leave, it's 7 p.m., right?
So why not just move your weekend?
I'm sorry?
Like, why not just move your weekend to be Wednesday, Thursday?
But then you would never have, your weekends would always change. So
it'd just be Wizard Day or whatever. So you'd still, your weekend would still be shit.
Instead of being Fratter Day, it'd be Wizard Day. You'd just be robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Pretty much. Because it would all
you'd work through Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
To take.
I don't know. It seems like there's arguments on
tricky.
every end, but
there's definitely arguments on both sides there. It's a little tricky. I think if they just do 10-hour days across the board, it'll just be better. Like, you know, you can keep the weekends. I don't want to say keep the weekends short, but you can keep the weekends the way they are because people will be in general better rested.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that they got was the more pay on the new media contracts. So, you know, I agree with that. So here's the thing. It was agreed upon between the union leadership and the studios, but now it has to be voted on by the members. So the points have been set. They have been presented to the members of IATSE, and now the IATSE members have to come in and vote whether they agree with the terms or not. So that's the other thing at play now is like, you know, it's kind of split down the middle right now. Some people are happy with what they got. Some people are not because they really want the 10-hour days. Whether it's going to pass and this will be the new contract or not is going to be something. Oh, the other thing too is they got 3% wage increases for the next 5 years. So 3% wage increase every year over year for the next 5 years or whatever it is.
That's pretty tight.
Yeah, but who comes in behind? So, okay, do they have a set?
Inflation
do they have
is
a
also
base?
the problem with that.
Because oftentimes the problem with those 3% increases, so if you start out at $19 an hour and you get a 3% increase the next year, the person coming in after you goes into an inflated wage of $19.50 an hour. So they're actually starting close to or above what you got, what your increase is.
So union workers get paid the same across the board, whether it's your first year in the union or your 30th year in the union. If you're in the same role, you're getting paid the same.
Okay.
So if, let's say, for example, a set dresser, right? Set dressers, they are pretty much, they're glorified moving people, right? They move the furniture in and out of set. They get paid, I want to say it's $35 an hour. I could be off by a few dollars, but let's just say it's $35 an hour. So if they're going to get 3% pay increase, it's going to be 3% on the $35. And all set dressers, whether you've been in the union for 1 year or 30 years, all set dressers are going to get those same benefits.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And like I said, set dressers make about 35, but then you have scenics. Do you guys know what scenics are?
No.
A scenic is a glorified painter. So they're in charge of arts and crafts, let's call it. They do anything from painting walls to I don't know, like making little things. They do a lot of things that have to do with the set design, I guess. They don't really move furniture around, but they make things that are in the background of sets. And
So-
some
So
of
how do
these
you get into this union? You just go pay some dues and prove that you can do the job.
It's not easy. You have to know people who are in the business who are willing to bring you on to a union job, and then you need X amount of hours to get into the union.
Huh.
Yes, it's and then you have to, for some of these unions, you have to pass exams. So there's no exam for my union, but if you want to be a grip, if you want to be an electrician, if you want to be a set dresser, you have to do exams that have to do with OSHA, have to do with safety protocols, have to do with operating machinery, because we'll bring condors on set many times if we want to have lights from 30, 40, 50, 60 feet in the air. We have to operate cranes.
Yeah.
We have to operate, well, not we, but that department has to operate forklifts, so they have to take exams to know how to operate all this stuff. But going back to the scenics, like a scenic that works on set makes about $75 an hour.
No shit.
Good Lord.
That's crazy.
But on the other hand, the cost of living's higher where you're at too.
It is. The
That's
cost of
still a
living is
lot.
higher. It's a lot, but they also, scenics have to have a lot of knowledge. Like, they know how to mix colors. They can pretty much match colors just by looking at it. They know how to fix a lot of little things. There's a lot of technical knowledge there. Look, some of these guys get paid very handsomely, ridiculously. Steadicam ops, like operators of steady cameras, make, I think it's like $1,500 a day.
Jesus
right?
Christ.
Their days are based on 12 hours.
You want to see a homemade Steadicam that I made
Let's check it out.
18 years ago? So there's a 2.5 pound weight on the bottom of this.
Okay.
And then on the top is the camera mount.
Yeah.
So it's basically the piece that will mount to the.
Yeah.
I've got like a piece of felt here, and
Dude,
all this stuff is like
hilarious.
pipe hardware.
That is very primitive.
It actually worked really good.
Really?
Yeah, I believe it.
Because you hold the handle, and you hold this, and then it's a fluid motion. So
That's
Oh
funny.
my
it
damn.
was sitting right here, so I thought it was in.
You could be making $1,500 a day.
Yeah, man. What are you doing here, Ward?
What are we doing? Why are we doing this?
So yeah, Steadicam ops,
nothing.
they make good money, man. And the thing is, Steadicam ops don't work the full 12 hours. They get paid $1,500 for it's $1,500 over 12, right? Because it's $1,500 over 12 hours, but technically they'll only work like 5 hours. So, because they'll show up to set, they're needed for like 1, maybe 2 scenes. They do those 2 scenes, and that's it. They're done. They're wrapped for the day. They can leave. So
They can hang out in craft services.
whatever they want. So if your day is done in 5 hours, you just made $1,500 in 5 hours. It's
It's
fucking
amazing.
pretty incredible. Incredible.
Damn.
So yeah, I mean, look, those are the issues with the IATSE contract, where it's at. Let's see what the members decide to vote.
Yeah, I'm interested
Man,
to see.
you've just given us so like so much information, but so many questions at the
Well,
same
yeah,
time.
Please ask away.
I have such
Ask
a better understanding about it now. All the articles that you see, they paint in such broad strokes about what specifically it entails. And so being able to talk to somebody who can actually like hammer down specifics and stuff is a little bit refreshing.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
I remember another point. Another issue that was brought up is meal penalties. So the meal penalties increase in the new contract if it gets approved. Meal penalties is every 6 hours the production has to break to give crew members a meal. So if you don't break in the 6 hours, you go into meal penalties. What is that? How does that work? For every half hour that you don't break for lunch, your pay increases by half of a time. Meaning, let's say you make $10 an hour, right? You go into meal penalties. The first half hour, you're making $15 an hour.
Okay.
The second half hour, you make $20 an hour. The half hour,
I'd just be like, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
So that's the thing, right? It's like, in my opinion, I would be just like you, Ward. I don't get meal penalties. But I would be like, dude, I don't even fucking want to break for lunch.
Yeah, I have granola bar in my pocket. Let's go.
Finish the day quicker and give me all the meal penalties you want to give me. I've heard of crew members. I've heard of crew members going into so many meal penalties. They were making $120 an hour.
Jesus Christ.
By the end of it.
Wow.
This was a fucking Scorsese film.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch.
Goodfellas.
That's why The Irishman cost $300 million to make.
It's pretty crazy. So yeah, the meal penalties would essentially go up. I forget exactly the details, but every half hour that that the production doesn't break for lunch, crew members would get even more pay than they already get for meal penalties. And meal penalties happens, every 6 hours. So if you shoot for 14 hours, technically you have to break for lunch twice. Normally what ends up happening is the second meal time, they just shoot through it. They'll go into meal penalties just to get it done.
They'll just eat that meal penalty.
That's it.
That's insanity.
Yeah, there's a lot of intricacies, a lot of rules, a lot of little things. Like, let's say you are in the middle of a scene, right? And you have like 2 more takes to go, right? 1 or 2 more takes that you want to do, and you're hitting the 6 hour mark. You can ask for grace, right? So grace is a 15-minute period where you won't get charged meal penalties. So typically the AD, the assistant director, will be like, hey, we're going to ask for grace just so we can get this we can finish up this shot. And
so
crew
or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. And crew will just be like, all right, let's do it. Let's just finish this up. And there's like a 15-minute window where you can just, quickly do what you got to do. And you don't get charged those meal penalties.
And the's always that one guy on there that's like, fuck your grace. Fuck that. I vote no. I vote no.
Son of a bitch. I want my meal penalties, or I want my sandwich. Give me my sandwich. I want it now.
Look, at the end of the day, the PAs are the ones that have it the worst, man. They don't have any benefits, man. Nothing. They get paid minimum wage. Yeah, they get paid minimum wage. No meal penalties. They get overtime, but overtime is time and a half. It's not, double time like some crew members.
They just get abused.
PA,
production assistant, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I work in the medical field, so it's physicians.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
Those motherfuckers make tons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not on the bottom of the food chain, that's for sure.
Do they get meal penalties?
I'm here to send you a bill too.
They can give themselves medication. I'm gonna write myself a script, y'all.
Well,
yeah, I mean, look, if you guys have any other questions, please
was going to say I need to wrap up so that I
Yeah.
can make sure to get home before 9, so I can get the kids in bed and whatnot. But maybe there will be a little bit more information on how the voting is going and where this thing is going the next time that we reconvene. We can further this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Wow. Bruno in high def tonight.
Yeah.
You do look
Like
glorious 4K.
like 4K Ultra over there.
Thank you.
Compared to the nonsense we have going. Like
I'm over here on
I feel like I just got to
VHS.
throw my cameras away.
Oh, come on, guys.
No, but you look great on.
Thank
your
you. I
cameras
wanted
are
to
great.
elevate my side of the production for you guys. Okay?
I
Look,
appreciate that. Do you have a ring light?
I got the camera. I mean the mic stand like I had promised last time. I don't have a ring light, but I do have a light right here that I was using to bounce off the wall.
Tell you what, it's working.
Yeah. So
it's working.
Chris Hudds looks like a ghost over there, and
the less we say about me, the better.
So I don't know if you saw that change in the light. Is me turning it on and off.
Yeah, it's noticeable.
Yeah. No, it looks good. Hey, thanks, Bruno, again for joining us. This has been a educational.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, very educational show.
It was a little more serious of a show compared to normal.
Yeah, it was actually.
We were talking about people getting killed on movie sets and shit.
I enjoyed it. I like these kinds of discussions for sure. So
Samesies.
ASMR. Sorry.
Gotta squeeze some levity in there.
That you had to.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Bruno. Until next time.
Take care, Bruno.
Adios, guys.
Later.